Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So today, guys, we're going to be looking on the PTS server and trying to find what is kind of a really effective one-bar Oakensoul build using subclassing. There's a lot to go through. I've made a little spinny thing which I'll show on screen in a second, but the idea is that can we embrace the base class using maybe the class sets or the class mastery, and then to make actually a new one-bar build that's actually better than what we currently use. On the channel, I've made one-bar builds for like most classes already, and I want to kind of continue with that and just kind of finish them all off, update them for the new patch, because there's lots to go through. As always, questions are greatly appreciated, and if you haven't done so, like likes and comments, you know, usual stuff. As for which class we're going to start with today, I've got a little spinner, so you can see it on screen here, and the idea is that we'll spin it, we'll see what it lands on, and then we're going to try and roll with that, and I'll see kind of how we get through. So it looks like we're going to start with a Dragonknight, which would be quite cool. I will, throughout this stream, put in the top left essentially which class we are working on, so I'll quickly do that now. So it's spun as a Dragonknight, there it is. And then we're now going to try and create our Dragonknight. To keep it simple, I'm going to keep every race as a dark elf because that works on magical or stamina, but we can obviously tweak it if we need to. So we're going to try and make a Dragonknight using Oakensoul, trying to make it effective. So I'm going to go Oaken DK, Unified. And we'll see what we can come up with. Any ideas are greatly appreciated. And then with the Dragonknight class mastery itself, it is worth having a look at kind of what it does. So I've got in the background all of the masteries. I'm going to put in chat now for people curious. This is what the Dragonknight's class mastery does. For each enemy within 8 meters up to 6, you gain 50 weapon and spell damage and reduce the damage taken by 2%, plus 1% per enemy for 5 seconds. So it's quite a pretty good mastery. But it's one of those ones where we need to kind of see, do we lean into that or not? So first and foremost, we just need to quickly get our subclass on online, which is really simple. And we're going to go to the vendor to do that. As is a brand new character, I'm just quickly putting on like things as I like them. So that's pretty much it. To access subclassing, you do need to go and find the vendor over in Wayrest. So in Banquet, Wayrest is up this way. And it's Evermore. And so my thinking is, with these kind of one-bar Oakensoul builds, we need to make them feel like the true class, if that makes sense. It's very easy to make a one-bar build just with all proc sets. That's not what this is about. I want this to be about your kind of what Oaken build feels like that class. Obviously with subclassing to make it better. So when we go to the vendor, we can just pick any subclass skill line. We can change this afterwards. And you speak to her a second time, which I always forget to do to finish the quest. We can now access subclassing freely on any character, this character for any line we have. So we can access all of these, which is great. And I'm going to hop over to my house and then we'll start the testing. Please note, obviously this will be like a Theorycraft one, but I'll kind of go through with what I'm thinking. And we'll try and go pretty quick tonight just to get through as many builds as we can, hopefully 10-20 minutes per build. But yeah. As for the subclassing, I'm curious to see what you guys think of it. I'm going to put a poll up now. Are you excited or not for PvP? And it's going to be simply just a yes or a no. It's going to be a really close poll. So, whilst that's in the background, what are we going to be trying to do on the DK? So, with the DK, we're going to have a first look at the base skills that the class has and then see what are the gaps, what do we lack? Because that's kind of what this is about. I'm going to just put this back on and get rid of that one there. So, with an Oakensoul build, we have all of our buffs covered, which is really nice. That really helps us out. The problem is that you often end up missing key kind of the sort of key utility skill. So like you normally lack a movement skill, you normally lack a burst skill or a burst skill even. So we need to find ways to try and overcome those with really strong skills. So we're going to put Oakensoul now. So this gives us our damage buff, our crit buff, our armor buff, and those are regens. So with that in mind, I would want this to actually use the DK because we are trying to make a Dragonknight. You know, we want to use the whip, yeah? So we're going to build around Molten Whip because this is obviously really good. And then we'll see, is subclassing even worth it for like an Oakensoul type build? Because we've only got one bar. Like we can't swap bar. So with the whip, the way that whip works is you have to stack it, which is a little annoying. So we need to have some way to charge the whip. So we need another spammable skill, which already means we have very limited bar space. So it's when we activate any different Ardent Flame ability. So we need another one of these. Now in the past I have used Noxious Breath because it has almost like spammable level damage. It's really, really good. We are going to lack a burst heal. Let's see what the other lines give us. So Draconic Power gives us really big heals. But you have to stack health in order for this to be good. So I don't think this is going to be that useful for us. What does this give us down here? Block, healing, nice, health recovery, resistance. So we could drop Draconic Power possibly. That might be worth considering. Because unless we want this massive burst heal, which I personally don't like it, is like really good or it's really bad. It's like in the middle. Earthen Heart. This gives us our stun, which is very good on a DK. We get Earthen Heart abilities, Battle Roar. So if you want to play as a DK, you kind of need that because that's what DK is all about. It's this Battle Roar. But then we don't get Leap, which is the problem because Leap's like the iconic skill. Because I would want to use like Leap and use like Take Flight or Ferocious Leap. But then we do that, we then have to use all three skills, which is not what we're trying to go for here. I feel like Shattering Rock's a no-brainer. It's a stun and it's a heal. But now we lack a movement skill, burst heal. So let's go get a scroll and then we'll see what options we have for burst heals. Obviously, we also have access to the scribing system too. So it might be that actually we find a better, you know, scribe skill maybe, rather than changing our skill line. I'm just going to put the generic kind of 1632 that you do on a DK. This gives us like a very good base set of stats to work with. So let's go grab a scroll and see what we can do with this. And this will also give you an idea what to run next patch if you're curious. So the one thing I noticed we're going to lack is a burst skill and a heal. So Sorcerer doesn't have any burst heals other than the big shield, and that we don't want to go down that route. It does have good passive healing with crit surge and mobility. I don't think that's going to help us with this though. Nightblade has really big burst with Grim Focus. Shadow has a decent heal. So the Siphoning, sorry, has a decent heal with the Offering. But that's not that useful. Templar has Rush Ceremony. Let's have a look at this. So we got Honor the Dead, which basically makes it cheap because when you cast this, it refunds a lot of the cost, which is really nice. What the passive side? So healing. When you stand in your own rune, cleansing, this gives us more block. When you heal an ally under 50% heal with a restoring light ability, you got them on ult. Add an ability of a cast time or channel when combat automatically blocks. It's not this here. Resurrection speed. This might not be an option, maybe. Let's see what else there is. Warden is all heal over time, or you have to stack the health. So I don't think Warden's going to help help us with healing. Necro has a pretty good heal with Living Death. So you got a resistant flesh, which gives us loads of armor as well. And obviously yes, we get our minor defile one here, but we get curative curse, which kind of offsets it anyway. Well, you have a Living Death ability, strike. Is this Living Death? Here it is. Your critical strike chance is increased by 12%. It's quite cool. We don't get that passive though. We don't benefit from that one unless we use the ghost. Which means 2 of these passives don't work unless we use the ghost, and I don't think the intensive mend is that good. It's at 4.2k when that's, yeah, so the ghost wouldn't be good for what we're trying to do here. Because we need these 2 skill lines to feel like a DK. Like you need whip. Shattering, we're only using this for the battle roar, but we could drop that. What do you think? In chat, if you can type, would you keep the battle roar, or would you go and have the leap? What, like, if you were going, what feels more Dragonknight? Is the Dragonknight kind of gimmick the getting the resources back from the ultimate, or is it the leap? Like, what's more iconic to you? Because we've got the Shattering Rock and the ult return, but we don't have the leap. Otherwise, we're just running a pure DK, which might be, you know, might be possible. But if we want to try and add subclassing to make it better, I feel like adding assassination will give this damage and burst, which we always lack. Having played the build before, having the Grim Focus is phenomenal. This hits really hard. We can stack it 2 times now. Loads of crit chance, loads of crit damage. It also gives us a bit of healing when we attack people with this. And we could obviously use like Incap, but if you use Incap, you feel like a Nightblade. So I'm trying to work out, do I go with the leap route and maybe drop the Shattering Rock and the Resource Restore? Or do I go the other route? Because I've got a pretty good idea of sets that I'm going to use. I feel like I'm going to go this route and go with leap. Just because it's so iconic. It also gives us a heal. Coag's massive. And then Coag scales off your weapon and spell damage. So which means the extra damage you get from Resolve, because it's giving you bonus weapon and spell damage, will make this harder, which would be quite nice. We just don't have a stun. We don't have a movement skill. We've got really high burst. Really, really high burst. Now we could use Fiery Grip, which will give us our essentially stun and movement skill in one, which is quite nice. Because there's no good stun there. Or so we can get the off balance stun with failed strike, but I don't want to do that. I'm trying to play like a DK, which I know sounds really silly, but that's kind of what I want this to do. I think I'm going to go with the Fiery Grip. Pulls you to the enemy's side, but no longer attempts taunt. Grants major berserk, so it can't be dodged. Does a bit of damage. Major expedition for 4 seconds. Refund Magicka. Probably go with Chains of Devastation, because we want to use this as a gap close. And then we're going to go with Leap then as the ult. I think I'm happy with the skills. I am wondering whether Noxious is the right skill though. Obviously he's got the breach. Or do we change the whip maybe? I feel like we changed the whip. Because we could use Flame Lash. If you strike an enemy that is immobilized or stunned, you set them off balance. Targeting an off-balance target changes this in Power Lash, allowing to lash the target at half the cost to deal damage and health. This stacks 3 times, so you get a 60% boost. I feel like this might actually be better, but we then need to get off-balance into the build, which is another problem. I'm going to go that route, I think, and look at how to get off-balance in there. If it's possible, like with what we have. And this is where like trying to add in subclassing into Oaken builds is really hard if you want it to feel like the normal Oaken build. If enemy take more damage from fire damage, that's not going to really help us. Just burning, Venom Claw, Poison Satyrs. You heal, that's more passive healing. We could use that and then change this to Molten. So we could charge it using Embers, scratch, 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 big whip. Because I don't think we have any good way of getting off balance without having to change one of our skills, which is going to be a problem. And we don't have anything really that gives us off balance in the kit apart from this. So I'm probably going to go this route actually. Let's sort out the sets now. So set wise, I want to use I'm probably going to use Trickery. I think Trickery is Vardenville, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. So when you do damage, you gain 1 of 5 random buffs. Expedition speed, protection, mending, heroism, vitality. Like really good defense buffs. That's an option. I don't know if it's the best option in all honesty. Because we do have this speed boost from the chains, but we could change the chains. Maybe. The alt gen is very nice though. Now I'm gonna look for possibly. You could obviously do like Wretched, but I think we need a bit more defense. So I'm gonna go probably Rallying Cry with it. So what I'm doing, if people are curious, we're trying to make a Oakensoul DK that feels like a DK but has subclassing to kind of amplify it and kind of fill in some of the gaps, some of the lacking things. And this is kind of like my initial thoughts, if that makes sense. So we go with those. We need to get a sash from Rallying Cry. I love using an Inferno because it feels thematically nice, but a Lightning is actually better for what we want to do nowadays. Look for Rallying Cry. Here it is. Sash there. Okay, so Rallying Cry's going to go there. Oakensoul up there, and then Rallying Cry there. So you want to do it this way to maximize our resistances and gives us more choice as what we do. I am going to probably pair Trickery to begin with, unless we go with the class set, which is really good. I think it's Prior Band it's called. Really, really good. With this here, your light attacks deal flame damage. This damage scales off your high weapon and spell damage. Yeah, I want to go with this. Prior Band is a really good, like, just sustained damage set. What weight does it? I think it comes in every weight, doesn't it? Yeah, it comes in every weight. So we will want a heavy chest, wherever that is. And the heavy legs. We're going to go medium for the rest. So Let's grab all the medium. I'm not actually reading, I'm just looking for if the weight's medium. So this set is a bit of a pig to farm, in all honesty. It is a very, very good set though. There's our rally back on. There's our prior band. So that's, was it 5,800? And then you can, your fully charged heavy attacks consume up to 3 to do an extra X amount in a 6 meter radius. Deals 200% more damage if to enemies below 33% health. I'm going to put on 1 magma incarnate with this. Let's go to monster sets. Because I'm wanting to like really embrace the subclassing, but trying to keep the class identity. DK is one of the classes where I've played a fair bit, but it's not like my main by any means. Go for a heavy. Alright, let's get some more damage on this now. So I think we're mostly there with the DK. I'm trying to kind of have one for each class, hopefully tonight, but I might not get through them all. There's a lot. And we go with some physical. I'm going to grab some sustain just in case. And just so with that, we've got the options, if that makes sense. And we would probably go with just damage, helpful weapon damage. The fire is pretty decent though. I'm most likely going to use double dot poisons in all honesty. On a DK in particular, you do pull from both resource pools, so you often need to have lots of like both resources, if that makes sense. So I find like prismatic glyphs are very, very good. Now I'm putting 3 damage here for the moment. We can obviously treat this in a second. And let's get double dot poisons. And we'll grab some food. Because we don't have the DK Battle Roar passive, we obviously need something with health, but also maybe sustain. Let's grab some, just a range of different stuff. Okay, so let's look at where we are stat-wise. This is kind of my initial thoughts. So we've got obviously a big burst hill. This is without CP, so it's 10k, it's going to go up. That's a big amount of burst. Let's change this to burning embers. We've got some healing at least. It's Noxious is a bit more damage. It does apply breach though. I think I would have to play around to see which feels better on, like, do I need the healing or do I need the more damage, if that makes sense. Because that's our stun and also movement speed. It also gives us a damage boost. You know, it's a lot of extra. Major Berserk's insane. We also got Leap, which is a big shield. So again, this is really good because it's just defense and it's dirt cheap. Like, it's really, really cheap. So you could do like Leap into Spec Bow is what I was thinking as a burst combo. Or you could go Spec Bow, Leap, Spec Bow, which would hit really, really hard. We definitely need some sustained food, 100%. What are we looking like now? I still feel the sustain, because we don't have Battle Roar. Battle Roar is really, like, really powerful as an ult. We've got obviously Burn and Concuss here, so we'll proc this quite reliably. Yeah, I think I'm just thinking about Mundus wise. I'm probably going to go for more stam recovery. The reason I'm going for the Mundus is Mundus stones are really stat dense. But these sustain ones are really, really stat dense for what they are. Yeah, we've got plenty of sustain now. I might change the Mundus to the Lover. Let's put the CP in and see if that makes... Because that feels a bit too high now. 1900 on a DK is insane. Obviously we can do that. The sustain feels pretty decent because we're pulling their mag. That's dirt cheap, that is. So dirt cheap. Right, let's do our CP and then see where we are with damage. You might notice I've gone for more of a burstier spec because I always found the whole DK, it always like struggled to get the final hit to get the kill. I'm hoping in the next 5 minutes we'll have this one finished as a kind of prototype. I will test this on live and I'll kind of basically mock it up over there. But this will give you an idea of what to kind of try sort of day one. We're using single target, we're using loads of direct damage. I want to go and try and get some crit, because we've actually got really high crit chance. So having those extra crit heals and that crit damage would be really nice. I am going to add in Ironclad, because our resistances are a little lower than I would like, in all honesty. So I feel like we need at least one blue one to help with that. With the red ones, it's going to be kind of a generic set, to be honest. So sustain by suffering, we need the sustain. That's just more mitigation here. So we then have one spare one. I'm probably going to go for more armor this time, in all honesty. Because I feel like, yeah, that's a bit more manageable. Bearing in mind, we're going to change all the traits in a second. Let's transmute. Where are we with... We don't need Divine, this is like way too much. I would probably go 2 M-Pen, like 5 well-fitted. Or something like that. I'm just going to put all M-Pen for the moment. I think because we've got Rallying Cry, we don't need the extra M-Pen. Like, this will make us tanky against crits, which would be really nice because our base resist is on the lower side, in all honesty. It's not the highest. What's our weapon and sword damage? 4-7, that's pretty decent because that's going to go up quite a bit when we're in combat. Doubled up poisons there. Let's see what it's like fully stacked with the whip. I'm just charging the spec bow just to see what our damage is when it's fully stacked. So a spec bow has a 20,000 tooltip, which is really nice. And we got that twice. We can go bang, bang, shoot it twice in a row. Which obviously is going to be a good amount of burst. So I feel like doing a whip into a spec bow would be quite nice. Yeah, so that's 21, almost 22k buffed. That's 16, which is going to be about 22k buffed. That's 20k. So yes, we've got lots of burst. That's our spammable. Can we? I'm going to try. Can we sustain that stam? 1, 2, 3, whip. 1, 2, 3, whip. Let bow. 2, 3, whip. Yeah. So what's it with a potion? Oh, bugger. One, three, whip. Yeah, I feel like if you're rotating and chucking the chain down again and the spec bow, the sustain actually isn't too bad. That's okay. That feels, I could probably sustain with that. What's our? I'm gonna just check our weapon damage fully buffed. Prior gives us loads of damage. Look at that. It's another dot. And if you do a fully charged heavy attack, you can shoot them up to them. Big AoE damage. So our total damage is 5k there. Yeah, because when we stack the whip too, yeah, 5,400. What's our burst still? 11k, that's pretty good, that is. Yeah, on Coag, you want around 10 to 15k tooltip, because then that means when you do use it, you'll get the bonus from here, which is going to be like a really big burst still, basically. If it's like below 10k, it's too low. That, I feel like this could change, possibly. We could, I'm just thinking out loud, swap Breath for Oblivion. So go for Inferno, go for Flames of Oblivion. It's quite cheap, it does a lot of damage. It's AoE. So when you use it, you can obviously charge like this. So as you do it, you can shoot the fireballs that way. I might do that. Let me change my mind to the Atronach. And I'm probably gonna leave the DK here, I think. If you've played DK before, or like you main it, I'd like to know what you think of the build, as a rough idea. Do you think it will be viable? Obviously, we've got the Rallying Cry to go on top of that. So that 5,500 we did almost, it's going to be about 6k fully buffed. You've got 4 there plus Rally to go on top of this. I think this is what I'm going to use. I don't think there's going to be any scribe things we could add. Let's have a look quickly to see if there's any good scribe skills. Let me grab the scribing supplies. Just going to check the poll. We've got a poll going about, are people excited with the subclassing for PvP? And the general is kind of more yes than no. It's kind of in the middle, I think. I'm going to ask what you think about the build. Do you think the build will be viable? I'm gonna just hop into Icy in a second just to try it there quickly. What's the healing on that? 12k. That doesn't have the bonus on it. Class Mastery. Damage. Vitality. This is one option. We could possibly do that. And then run this instead of this. Increase by up to 50% additional healing based on your missing health. So we're missing half health. We'll get like an extra 25. I wonder whether this might be more. That is cheaper to spam though. We don't get the extra damage buff. And the vitality, I think that might be better actually. I'll just see about. I'm just check passives. Was active, you get 9% extra healing, so that kind of negates the major fatality. Yeah, that is better. I'll probably keep Coac just because it's more like traditional thematic wise. And we're just hopping into IC just for 5 minutes roughly, just to. You kind of get a feel for how it feels against a guard, how it feels against ads, and it's like the only way you can really check it at this stage in the PTS because it's so late. So we'll pop over here. Yeah. I'm going to change to embers. We need. I'm just thinking we probably need a more reliable way to proc rally. That's proc twice in a row. Our crit chance is pretty high. But yeah, look, if you look at that, I've just done it loads and it's not proc. Oh, it's probably on cooldown. Now it's off. So, okay, that is procced reliably every time. So maybe we don't need it. I don't know where my spec bow went. I literally fired that and it disappeared. Yeah, that felt okay to kill those. And you know, the little guards are normally somewhat tanky. Feels so weird not having a 2 bars. Damage feels okay and sustain feels okay. It's going to be about survival, I think. Let's go find a boss. Yeah, because that feels alright. Like, to me, I've played DK before, and that doesn't feel too bad for a 1-bar build. Yeah, where's the arena boss up there? I just miss not having speed. Like for my Nightblade, I'm so used to my Nightblade having like ridiculous speed. I'm just gonna pop to the next zone. Oh, there's the boss. I just want to see like how much he hits us for. Okay. You'll bear in mind the spec bow, as we use it, it does heal us. Yeah, 8.5k crit heal. Yeah, I think actually. How much is he? He's enraged. That's that. He gets us for 11k, 6k, 3k, 3.4k spec. But I'm seeing what the healing is. As we're using talons, we're getting tons of healing from talons. Look, 5k, 6k, 5k. So talons is like insane healing. Like look at this is look, watch. And what full health. If you look, yeah, look, 4k, 1300, and he's putting over healing, so you can actually see that the thing is actually 9,000, 9,000, 5,000, 9,000, 5,000, 5,000, 9,000, 5,000, 5,000. Obviously in PvP that'll be halved, like against a player because you do less damage to a player. Yeah, but I've had no issues doing this, and like this is very casual. Because you're basically, what you're trying to do with this, it looks like is you basically use your kind of like talon spam to charge your whip and then your spec bow as you're doing it. But yeah, that felt pretty, actually, that was like really easy to stay alive. Let's look at the combat metrics. I've got that installed. That gives people an idea of what we're doing. But I have the add-on off in PvP. I always hate that, sorry. But yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm going to superstar this for people curious. I think this is probably what I'm going to run. The Pariah Band basically gives us loads of damage, and it gives us a dot, which means we can have more sustained damage, which is nice. The Rally gives us more just crit resist, which gives us more defense, because we do need that. If you're in a group with Rally already, you could probably change this for a different defensive set. The spec bow hits really hard, and it gives us loads of healing, because we heal for half of the damage we do. If we do a 10k, that's 5k heal. Now this is consistent good healing, on especially if you're hitting people. But yeah, I think I'm going to kind of switch character here. It gives me an idea of what I'm going to kind of go for next patch. And then what we'll then do is I have made a little spinny thing. So I'm going to turn that one off. In theory, this should work. So we're going to spin this and then see which class we're going to try and make next. Hey, it can be Warden. I love Warden. Love a bit of Warden. And Warden actually is one of the ones I think is probably stronger, in all honesty. So, yeah, we will go with a Warden next. So let's go and change that to the Warden. There's the Warden icon on screen. That's going to disappear. So we need to make a new one. So Oaken DK, I'm happy with that. We're going to get rid of him. And then we're going to create a Warden this time. Again, Oakensoul, seeing what we can make. I'm going to keep it Dark Elf because it gives you like an idea of what, if you're like a High Elf or a Breton, you've got a general feel. But if you went Stamina, it would still work. And then we're going to go with Warden. We're going to go Oaken, then Unified. And then, yeah, well, let's create this bad boy. I feel like the DK has scope. Without trying it, obviously I won't know, but I will do some gameplay next week when the patch drops. My kind of plan is to get these things set up really fast. So then we can try them like in Battlegrounds, in Cyrodiil, and go from there. I'm going to quickly grab subclassing for this. If you've got any ideas for like what you want to see on the Warden, put it in chat. It could be like an ice themed Warden, it could be a animal one, or just like what's the best. And yeah, just for anybody that has joined, what we're doing this evening is trying to create sort of every 20 to 40 minutes roughly per class a different 1 bar spec, so we have like a things to kind of try next patch. Okay, so we've got the quest done. So we need to go to the new house again. Oh, I want to put a poll up to see what kind of Warden are we thinking. Okay, so I've put a poll up just to see what kind of thing you're after. Adrian says Warden crit damage build, so stacking crits. The things I came up with was maybe like a stand build or a ranged ice stun, or basically just procs and just abuse stuff. There's like some absolute, pardon the language, but some absolute bullshit you can do with like Warden. It's a really strong class for this kind of stuff. But yeah, if you've got different ideas that are not on there, like let me know. Obviously, there's like Pet Zoo, for example. I've made that already. That is stupidly broken. There's a video on the channel in the early access. I always do this, by the way. Sometimes I just never scroll it across enough. There you go. Okay, did it again. Well, bear with me. It is quite late where I am. Let me show. So, looking at what the Warden does, okay? We're trying to keep the theme of a Warden, just to kind of make that clear. Because I think if you're going to make a class, you kind of want your class to feel like your class, if that makes sense. If everybody's running around with Nightblade, Sulk, shenanigans, it's going to be a bit dry. So I kind of want these to be like, oh, I've got a Sorcerer. I can make this. I've got a Warden. I can make this. And like it's going to be, somewhat unique, but viable is kind of where we're going. Okay, so let's just reload UI quick. The ranged Iceland is always really popular, always. I just always feel like there's never enough ice damage skills. Okay, we got melee and ice. Maybe you'll make 2. I really like Warden. Hey, Sam. Oh, I'm gonna quick. Sam, you play DK, don't you? If I recall, like you're really good on DK. I might pick your brain if you're about in the next 10 minutes or so. Adrian says crit damage is the future. Yes and no. Which obviously sounds a bit weird. Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good, my friend. So the class mastery, create an area for 2 seconds. It basically snares enemies, it stuns them, gives you resources. This is fantastic because it basically gives you loads of effects in one skill. So, you need a stun, you need a snare, you need resource sustain. This makes your 1 damage skill become really useful. So I think we're going to run Willed Soul regardless as the spammable. It's stupid not to, in all honesty. And we can put on like Defile or Vitality for more healing. There's a few different things we can do. I'm just going to very quickly So I'm just switch and just show you a DK. I thought saying before he's on an NA, if I recall. Very good for his DK. And this is just what I kind of was thinking for next patch with subclassing, to try and give the 1-bar DK, it is a 1-bar Oaken build, more viability, because you have to basically stack corrosive and just do that, which is a bit tedious. So let me find something to buff up with. I'm just going to quickly buff up. Hey, you moved to the UK. Hope you enjoy the rain and the cold. It's always wet over here. Can't actually hit that thing. Well, apparently he's dead. Oh no, it might be... Apparently I'm dead. Oh, no, I can hit that one. I do not know what happened there, okay? Some of these I can hit, some of them I cannot. We're probably going to be dead here. I don't know if anybody's ever had this bug before. But you literally see, like, I could not hit them. Hey, I'm still alive. I can't target it. Hacks. Hacks. Star of Elon says a direct damage bug. Let's just die and maybe that will reset it. So what we're running, same is we're running Rallying Cry with Prior Band. So Prior Band is kind of basically our damage dot set. Yeah, I've tried the reload already. Sometimes just die and reset stuff like that. Doesn't look like it. We'll change zone. We'll go to the next area. Sorry, I will go back to the Warden in a moment. Okay, we can see stuff here. Okay, every cloud, eh? Okay, so our weapon and spell damage is 5,700, which I thought was pretty decent. Our pen is on the lower side, in all honesty. Now, I am toying between using Embers or Noxious. Noxious obviously gives us the pen, which is great. So that is an option there. And then we're using Coag as our big burst still. So I'll show you that like buffed. And because we've got Rallying Cry, we run that to basically give us the extra like defense. They have fixed a bug, by the way, where Spec Bow now resets out of combat. As soon as you leave combat, it like resets, which is really annoying actually. Okay, so 5.7k, Coag's 11,000, almost 12,000. It was a big heal there. Spec Bow 23k. We heal for half that damage. I was using a Burn and Embers as another heal over time. Our whip when it's stacked is like 16k. Let me just stack it up quickly. 7k there, 10k there. So we got a 17k whip. You get all the passives you do. So you literally swap out the skill lines. So what I did on the DK, it's a 10k heal. That's just normal. That's a nice heal. We swapped out the Earthen Heart, which all Earthen Heart was given us was Petrify, and the resource the same when using ult. So what I've done is I'm using Chains as the stun. Straight get to the target, yeah? Because we can obviously use the other morph to stun them if you wish, or just get there. And then it gives us a damage boost. So I come for more damage rather than like the stun, because we've got Leap. Leap's dirt cheap. Like as an ult, Leap is ridiculously cheap to use. Oh, there's boss. That's a good thing to keep. So that spec blow there will give us a 12k heal. And obviously you got your Leap too. My heal, will my heal work? Yeah, 13k heal, 12k heal. So the healing seems pretty fine. So the defense is 25k with 4k crit resist almost. Yeah, so same says that looks decent damage wise. I think it was the defense. We're going to release and go back to the Warden. I was just curious what you thought because you play DK way more than I do. Vega says, are DK poison skills on one line? Yes. So I was deliberately trying to make the DK viable, really building into this is still a Dragonknight. I was also messing around with Burning Embers instead of Breath, so we lose the pen, but this gives us loads more sustained damage and makes Rally really easy to proc. And then with the prior band, this, I think went up to about 8, it was at 9k this was, so it was basically an extra dot, so we had like 2 dots because of that, which was nice. So it was just like 3 damage over time. And we could heavy attack to get a really big burst at the low health. And we had the double dot poison. So we had like essentially 4 dots on them with burning, so 5 dots. And poison stated 6 dots actually. So we had 6 dots, big burst skill here, big burst skill here. You can change chains to the other one if you want the stun. I was going to probably use leap as my stun though, because it stuns reliably. Yeah, see, I did think that, but with spec bow, this is really stupid. You can stack this twice now. So I'll show you this outside quickly and I will switch. So I've done this on my Sorcerer and it works ridiculously well as a burst combo. I use it with Streak, but it's the same idea. So let's find something tanky. Yeah, because this was good healing. Like this just... Literally, it's 9k heal. I don't know why it's doing so much healing. Like, it's actually stupid. If we look at my healing received, it's like loads of healing. So I was going to stack a double spec bow and a whip. So a double spec bow and a leap, just to kind of show you what I mean. So I think he'll die from it though, I do. Find some more stuff to kill. Where's one of those big, like, ogre thingies? Okay. So I've got 2 ready, yeah? So what I was doing on my Sulk, yeah, is I would essentially shoot them with a spec bow, Streak, and then shoot a second spec bow at them, obviously without being stunned by the ad. And so what ended up happening is the first spec bow took off any shield they had, yeah, got them really low. The leap got the stun, Streak would have got the stun. And then what would then happen is we was then able to shoot the second spec bow while they're stunned to get that really big hit, or the whip, because that's 23k, that's 17,000, so that will be charged anyway. So that's what I was kind of thinking. So are these hostile guards? That snare on that NPC little thing. Yeah. So the idea was this: basically, I see the target, spec bow, leap, spec bow, and you can get obviously the whip. And because you're basically stacking essentially 3 burst skills back to back, that was kind of my thinking. And when I did it on Assault with Overload, I did Overload, spec bow. So it was light attack with Overload, spec bow, Streak, spec bow. And so when I was fighting someone, he was on a Assault build, which is like the min-max Wretch Vitality, Crafty Alpha. He had 30,000 health and a shield on, and it one-shot him. Took off his entire shield, and the follow-up just killed him. Zombie Jesus says, the last weekend before ESO PvP is killed. I wouldn't go that far. I think the changes are great, personally. We are going to go back on the Warden, though. But yeah, do you think that's going to be viable, same as a kind of rough build? Zombie Jesus said he uninstalled ESO last night. Oh, I wouldn't go that. I'd try it, honestly, I would. From what I've seen, everything that people moan about in PvP, the lightning staff is 12% damage done. So yeah, we're on the Warden. Looking at the pole, what are we going for? It's kind of mixed between melee, ice. There's no like real definitive one there, in all honesty. So let's keep it as a Warden. I'm going to push it high and then play with it from there. So let's put all the... Adrian says burst stacking is the future, 100%. Like, the one thing that everybody moans in PvP, in my experience, is the tank meta. People moan that you can't kill other players. They are too much health, they heal too quickly, there's not enough burst, there's not enough ways to kill tankier players. And in all honesty, let me just switch this off just so it's a bit clearer. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've been working on. And just so you can see the skill lines, I won't show the sets because they're kind of like still... oh, this is me working on an esoteric sort, which is... I've got to show you this. This is really stupid. This is like a little project I've been working on for a little while now. If you look at my... I've got 3.5k stam regen, yeah? Now, the problem with Esoteric Greaves is that you basically have like no sustain, yeah? What do we have now? 4,000 up there already. Got 4,000 stam recovery. And then when I finished the build fully, I had 7,300 stam recovery total. This is where I started tweaking it. Let's see if I can find a picture in chat. But even on this build, what you'll see here is it's got Deep Fissure and it's got Haunting Curse. So these line up really nicely. You can put on Overload as well. So you basically got 2 burst skills that will sync together really nicely with a spammable. That's 3 big burst, like 3 hits at once. Huge amount of burst. Add in Overload or Dawnbreaker, 4 massive hits at once. Huge amount of incoming damage within like a 2-second window. So that's on like a niche build. It's like a Sulk using Esoteric Greaves. This is the this is like the Sorcerer updated from the next patch. So like if you took the best Sulk build, the Archmage, which was Crafty Alphic, Reg Vitality, Mighty Student, you know, the really good one. Even on this, we've got Haunting Curse and Spec Bow. That Spec Bow's in 23,000 and we're not even buffed yet. Like, it's actually obscene. If you look at this now, it's 24.5k. When it's buffed, it's 28,000. We can shoot it twice in a row. Curse is 15k, I think it is, when it's fully buffed. So you can land Curse and Spec Bow together, a huge amount of burst. This is like basically landing frags, but you can choose when to fire it, which is really nice, because frags you can't always fire it, and you can't fire it back to back. With this you can. So you can literally like charge it up. Still got the obscene amount of shield. But let's find some more stuff so they don't die. So you'll see I've got Death Dealers. But you can already see that's on 25k. There it's 25,000. And it's going to go up and up and up. So my Death Dealers is still charging, which I'll charge it fully. But it gives you not the idea of like how much I have tested this Sulk in loads of duels on PTS. And like in my opinion, this is better than the current Sulk build. Like on live, it's more spammable damage. So if you look here, 26,500 spec bow. 12k plus 3k is 15,000 spammable. Look, bang, that's almost dead in one hit. With your Haunting Curse, almost 16,000. Overload, 11,000. Was actually 14,000, sorry. So like when you see a tankier target, you literally get your streak ready with your overload. You want to find something tanky to kind of show it with. Because these will die. I think he's a tanky one, isn't he? Over here. So you literally go overload and then do that. And if you time it right, you can get the stun in there too. And what happens is they can't dodge that. You can also add Curse into the mix as well. So, to the kind of like issues that people are moaning about with people not dying, this patch basically fixes that. You have so much more direct burst at the moment, like no, sorry, now, than you ever did before. Fraser said, Northern Storm nerf. Do you think it's possible with the new Major Force Mythic? The Major Force Mythic's great, really, really good. The Northern Storm, I don't think it's worth it. I will have a look though, and just see. I'm going to hop back onto the Warden. But you saw on the first Sook had Haunting Curse and Deep Fissure. This one had Spec Bow, Haunting Curse, Overload as the burst combo. I then had, this is a dot build. The Nightblade sniper is like ridiculously broken. Again, I'll show you this last one just to kind of really reinforce the point that damage is going up, is kind of the point. Healing's still ridiculously strong, is always going to be strong, because you can stack kills. But now you can stack damage, and that's the difference. So on this one, for example, what we're doing here is we can stack Crystal Weapon, and then you can then heavy attack Sundering Soul. So you end up getting 3 skills at once with procs. So you end up doing stuff like that. Things got like 30 odd K health, yeah. Sneak around. Crystal Weapon, Cloak, heavy attack. Oh, sorry, I was not meant to have my overload on. Sorry about that. I'll do it again. So I'm sneaking around it. Got Darlock on still, so we're getting sustain, which is awesome. See target. Then all of that lands at once. And because it's a sorcerer, you get the class mastery, which is another 2.5k damage here. You got the 10k here. You got the heavy attack damage. You got the proc set. Loads more burst. You can also use a light attack with overload. Because it's Crystal Weapon, it's a melee skill with stuns from stealth. So you got a ranged stun. So like again, it's just more burst than before. On a sniper, you don't have burst. There is a whole string where I've tested to make this build, and we were consistently bursting 30,000 health, 30,000 armor in 1.5 seconds, like consistently. And the person was stunned, so like there was very little counterplay to it. The amount of damage was obscene. So that's kind of what my point is that the changes, more damage. People are moaning this is going to ruin PvP, but it gives people more damage. Vega was which was that was my new Nightblade sniper, or it's a Sorc sniper now. It's like I've done a video already on the channel, which is like an early access to kind of tell people what I'm using, why I'm using it. I will make a full build video for the public with gameplay. I need to obviously record the gameplay when the patch drops live. But when I was doing the testing, it hit harder than any build I've used in probably about 4 years. It was obscene, the amount of damage, absolutely obscene. If you're in my Discord, there's a preview in the Discord that you can see in the Nightblade channel. So you're welcome to have a look there, and it just shows what it does. It's really, really fun. Sayum says he's in London. Really expensive, yep. Gonna get a part-time job, which should be good. And then Jill, yeah, I'm more than happy to Jill. I will make it on live, so we can I'll do it on live. Fraser was asking about Northern Storm with the new Mythic. Would it be worth it? What about the Destro ult? Is that better? Class Script's still good. Class Script's great. The Destro ult I have considered as well for the same reason that you have. I think the Destro ult's probably better, but I will check. It feels like Northern's more of a group buff now rather than a damage skill. The crystal weapon's better with the Nightblade Sniper because it procs on the light attack and you can charge it for 5 seconds. You can use it and then snipe light attack and land 3 things at once with another skill. So it's huge burst. Checking in with the poll. Where are we with the poll? Warden is very similar with Ice and Stam. So we're going to go and use the class mastery on the Warden because on an Oakensoul build you lack bar space. This fixes a lot of the problems. You've got a stun, you've got a snare, you've got sustain. Really, really useful. You've got spammable, which you need anyway. You then have defile or cowardice or breach. We're going to use deep fissure. That's kind of expected. So let's get the skills right and then mess around with subclass and see can we make it better. That's kind of how I found was the best way to build it. So we're going to grab Oakensoul just so that way we can kind of limit our stuff quite quickly to where we are. I want Mythic, High Isle, which is like... They literally made Oakensoul just for this, like, to be sold. That was the only reason they made it. It's still really good though. So with the Oakensoul and skills, we have on a Warden... I just want to put my skill back 1 sec, sorry. Let's grab that one there, okay. So with the Warden, typically you kind of use Scorch and Deep Fissure. Deep Fissure is like a staple for the Warden. And then you need a mobility skill, which means Bird of Prey is the mobility skill. It gives you movement speed, it gives you snare immunity, it gives you damage. Really good skill to run. That does mean we need a burst heal. We need an execute or another burst skill. And we need a decent ult. Now the one issue Warden lacks, it doesn't have any good ultimates in all honesty. So the burst heal, we could go down the high health route. Arctic Wind, they'd nerfed massively. So Arctic Blast, the heal's really bad. It's not a good heal, even with a high health. Polar Wind, the heal's okay, but you have to have like 40k health to make it actually usable, which isn't that useful because you've got that much health, you lose so much damage. So I think we are going to probably drop this skill line. Yes, we get a bit more ice damage. Yes, people get major maim when they come near us. Yes, we get a bit armor, and yes, we do a bit more chill damage. I don't think these are worth it personally. We lack too much as it is, and this doesn't add enough to us. The green balance, it doesn't have a burst heal that's reliable. Mushrooms, if anybody's used mushrooms, awful. Really bad skill. It's not a good burst heal. The only decent burst heal in this one is the healing seed and its budding seed. This is a burst heal, but you have to use it twice, which is not good. So if you can play with it, you get good with this. You can kind of like put it down and then fight in the area. So if you're used to doing this and staying in the circle, you then have the heal whenever you need it. But you can't always control that, especially when you're kiting. So for that reason alone, I don't think green balance is that good either. It does give us major mending if we use a green balance heal. But we're not going to use a green balance heal. So we're not going to get this. We're not going to get this. No, we won't get that. We will get that. So I don't think green balance is worth it either. So what I think we need is a heal skill line and probably a damage skill line because Winters doesn't give us anything useful. So what skill lines should we go for? If you've got an idea in the chat, put it in and we'll see what we can do. And then William was saying he has a Nord Arcanist, which is an Oakensoul build as a tank for PvE. Runs veteran DLC stuff and normal trials. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to see how to make it better with subclassing. I really like tanking, I do, in PvE. It sounds silly, but I quite like I like a Sorc tank. It sounds really weird, but I really enjoy the Sorcerer tank because the Clan Fear gives you a massive heal when it can't be killed, and I like the being able to be selfish and just managing my own resources with Dark Deal, Equilibrium. Really enjoy that. So I think obviously with the changes, you'd have a lot more options. William, Arcanist tank's still really good though. Like you're probably going to drop your DPS line. You should like, use that and maybe put on like a sustain line. You could be a bit mad and do something like the Green Balance here and go with like Lotus Flower. And when you light attack, you just heal people. It's free healing. Or you could be really cool and go with the Shadow. So if you go for the Nightblade and go with the Shadow, you can then get, not Shadow, sorry, Siphoning. You can get Siphoning Strikes. You can turn your health into magic and stamina. As a tank, this is ridiculously strong. Because you can hold block and spam this. And if you've got enough heal over times, you can basically perma block. It is really, really broke. So this is really, really nice. And all damage heals you anyway. So you just put on a dot on the boss. And you got loads of free healing from this. Or you got loads of free sustain. Fantastic skill. I would probably run this personally. That's like a side note. For what we need to do, we need a burst heal. So DK has Coag, which is a fantastic burst heal. Sorcerer has a massive shield. Sorcerer has a really good shield. Part of me thinking, just wondering. If anybody's played ESO as long as I have, you might remember the old Warden that used to run Harness Magicka. This was fantastic because you could stack Magicka, get really, really high Magicka, thus have high damage, and you just have a shield. And this was really good because as a Warden, it was just fantastic. Like, this is great. We could do that with the Sorcerer because we could put on their shield. The Sorcerer shield's fantastic. So we could go down the shield route instead and just use heals. Or we go down the weapon damage route and go Templar. This is what I like with the subclass and like system. You've got so many choices. Just be 1 sec. Sorry, I'll just check the cat. Sorry, back. So Templar would give us... I've got to look at the passives too. That's the really important part. Restore and Light. Let's have a look. Mending, that's nice. That's quite good. We don't benefit from that because we won't use those. We won't benefit from that other than to get a bit of ult. It's only a bit more healing. The heal is good. It's a very good heal. Very cheap. It pays for a lot of itself. Necro heal was good. We had a look at this earlier. We did. But the passives weren't great because 2 of them you don't benefit from. So what I'm trying to do is find which passives help us the most. William, I have made a build that does exactly that before. If you look on the channel, it's called Infinium. And it was using, I think it was Torag's Pact and Wear of the Fire. And we basically had it where we could just light attack and just spam Crushing Shock and had enough sustain to just keep it on forever. Yeah, I think I had like 8k mag regen in total. It's obscene. Arcanist doesn't have any good burst heals. Actually, it's got some. Let's just swap this out. You've got Rune Mend, which gives us healing. What about the passives? Mastery Effect, Abyssal Waters increases your healing done by 2% of each crux. Hideous Clarity. When you don't crux, you get resources. More sustain's nice. That's a really nice passive there. 18% sustain is fantastic. Your status reduces cost and strengthens your damage. Shields. Big shields. We don't have shields though. This doesn't seem like a bad one actually. I might consider this. What are the options we have here? That's 3-7. So what's that? 369, 11,100 roughly, plus the, so it's about 15k. I know it's obviously, it's not like a, and it does hit you within a second typically when I've used this before. This is an option. I might consider this. This is worth considering because you got so much extra, like this is a useful passive. 18% sustain is insane. That is literally a 5-piece set. So I think Curative's a good option. Nightblade, I don't think their heal's worth it. I think I might go for Rune Form. I'm looking at the passives too, what the siphoning passive's like. Let's swap that instead of there. Max resource, healing, ult. On amending, we get that anyway. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help us, so that's not going to be a good one. So no to Nightblade. We said no to DK, didn't we? I was going to just see what the DK heal passives have. This is what I'm trying to do to maximize my power, to make sure all the passives are actually helping us with what we're trying to do. Because I think these have some healing passives down here, don't they? It was this one here, wasn't it? Block. That 8%, isn't it? Health recovery, resist that. We'll benefit from that. We'll benefit from that. We don't really block a lot. I think the Arcanist one's probably the best one for what we need, actually. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Arcanist as our heal. So let's put Curative Rune Forms instead of that one. And this will be basically our burst heal. Because essentially it's the same value as a burst heal tooltip. But these passives are actually useful. Because this generates Crux as well. And what we can do is we can be quite clever and just tweak our resources to make this be stam if we want. Which will give us so much more sustain than normal. Or it could be Magicka we can pick. But that's... what about these? Are these any good? Remember, they're pretty good. Creator's Crux, recasting the shield on the target increases the max shield strength. That's not too bad. And it heals loads of people around you. Consuming Crux to cause the shields to heal for 30% of the remaining shield every second. That's not bad. It doesn't generate Crux, so that's the problem. Yeah, we're going to keep that. That's a nice one, but that's not a heal. So we've got a heal fixed. We've got a mobility, burst skill. We need an execute. So we have two choices. We could go down for the Nightblade and go with Assassination and then get Killer's Blade, because this will work on a staff then that way. And then now we have an execute, which we don't normally have. You get crit damage, crit chance. We could go with, instead of that, go for burst and go for Grim Focus, which is also a nice one to run. And Mercy Resolve gives us hidden as we do damage. So we could do that. So I feel like Assassination's not a bad shout. It also gives us a really good burst, good ultimate. Not a Warden ult, but still a good ult. We'll probably go Dawnbreaker, to be honest. Let's go Fighters Guild. Dawnbreaker or Smiting. We could drop this and go with the Templar's Dawn's Wrath and go for the Beam, which I feel might be a better choice because the passives are really good. Prism gives us ult. Illuminate gives us minor sorcery, so more damage. Reduces cost of skills. More damage, reduces cost of skills. Ult gen. That's not too useful, but we get access to execute. We could go with Radiant Oppression, which is a really good execute. Or we could go with Backlash. I don't think Backlash is a good burst skill though. I feel it's between Dawn's Wrath, Nightblade. I don't think the Sorcerer's assassination, so the Sorcerer's execute's that good anymore. They nerfed it massively. It significantly increases the damage to nearby targets. Endless Fury, yeah, it's within 2 seconds and they've got to be below 20% health. I don't think this is worth it. The passives are fantastic down here though, absolutely fantastic. I don't think this is worth it. It does give us Overload, which is good. There's Dawn's Wrath. What? I think there's Nova, isn't it? Dawn's Wrath. Let's put a poll up and see which ones would you go for. I think it's between Assassination or Dawn's Wrath. Which one? Feel like the Assassination gives us the crit, which will help with our healing. I want it to have the Warden burst skill. That's iconic. Deep Fissure is kind of, you're a Warden, yeah? You've got the Bird of Prey, you're a Warden. You can at least feel somewhat like a Warden. The beam does give us more spell damage, which is really nice. This can be dodged now, but it's a ranged one. It's a ranged ult. I'm probably going to go with this actually. Yeah, I think I've decided. I'm going to go with Dawn's Wrath. Cheers for those who voted. I think Dawn's Wrath is probably better because of what we're trying to do. Because we've actually got passives that now benefit the build. Ult gen, more damage, cost reduction. We now have loads more sustain, like ridiculous amount more sustain, and more healing. This is not a bad heal. We're going to have to use a Dawnbreaker ult, I think. Or we go for like Meteor, maybe. So I think it'll be like Ice Comet or Dawnbreaker. Let's put Dawnbreaker on as a... Yeah, I'm happy. I think these sets are the next bit, but I think the skills... Sorry, I've got quite an old squeaky chair. I need to get a new one at some point. I think these skills are like the best we're going to get for this. Let's just check in our CP quickly. I really wish Deep Fissure had like an ice morph. It would make it feel really nice. We need direct damage because that buffs everything we do. You need crit healing, crit damage, that will help our burst. These will help all of our damage. And I'm going to go for more healing. For the red ones, I think we're going to have to go for some more max resource. William said if you use the Arcanist as the base class, you could. What I'm trying to do with these, though, and you are right with that, by the way, is that I'm trying to kind of go, if you had a Warden already, what could you do to make it better? So instead of having to level up a brand new class, what would you do to make it better? So we're trying to lean into class mastery, class sets if appropriate. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they're really bad. Don't feel like with so much sustain, I think we can get away with that and go for more health. Because our sustain, bear in mind, we don't have any sustain sets. We've got 1900 recovery. That's a lot of recovery. That's just from glyphs, isn't it? So let's get some sets on. There's kind of a mix between range ice stun and melee stam. So if we're going to try and maximize our stuff, we need 2 5-piece sets in all honesty. Now Wretched is fantastic. It is a crafted set. I want to look at the class sets quickly. Is there any good Warden ones? William says, I want to see if the subclass can make some of these better. That's what I'm hoping to try and do with this. We put a subclass one on the DK, which I think is actually pretty decent. So this is a Warden one. Dealing damage with a light attack applies Eagle Mark to target. Eagle Mark causes an eagle to attack your target every 3 seconds. After 3-second delay, it deals 3.5k per tick. Applying Eagle Mark grants you Oriel's or Ori's call, I think it is, for 12 seconds. Increases your damage done with companion abilities by 10% against the target. This can occur every 3 seconds. It's not too good. That's Templar. That's DK. This is fantastic on DK. This is ridiculously good. No. Cardinal Seasons. Cast the Herald of the Spring. We don't use that. That's Arcanist in it. That's Nightblade. Arcanist. Nightblade. Templar. Yeah, I don't think these class ones are that good actually. We basically have birds. It's not bad. It's very like thematic and very fun. I don't think it's the best. You just compare it to like Prior Band. Does 4.8k and then if you heavy take you get loads more damage. There's loads of damage on it. Don't think it's worth it. The problem I don't like with this is you can't control it. What I want to test actually, let me just test this quickly. This will determine if I use this set. Is it per target, the cooldown, or is it global? Because that makes a very, very big difference to how good or bad the set is. So I'm just going to quickly grab a skeleton. I'll grab a couple of those skeletons. Now all I'm going to do is I'll just put them down. There's some random places that'll do, okay? So, light attack. I've got that stupid bug again. We're just checking to see, does the class set from Warden let you put on each time? Can I access these ones? Oh, they're probably floating. Yeah. It's not terrible. There's a bit more control to it than I thought. It's basically, I'm just looking at the damage, it's very similar to Way of the Fire, damage-wise. It's just this bottom bit. Like it was 10% damage from class skills, fantastic. But we only have this skill that benefits from that, and that's not. Don't think it's worth it. If if you've used this set before and you think, actually, I'm overlooking it, I'm maybe being a bit too harsh, let me know in the chat, but I'm struggling to see why would I use this over a damage set that just increases all of our damage, if that makes sense. Crafted sets, DLC sets. On a Warden, you typically need low sustain because of how it plays. So we are going to need probably Wretched. So we can go jewelry, light armor, and weapons. Thank you very much. Let's go with Arcane. Arcane. Sash, I might have to change these around to mess around with weights in a little bit. I want to try and make this like a strong build, if that makes sense, so it's viable. The other advantage, William, to your class mastery thing was this. The Warden has this one, which is really good. It basically acts as a snare, a stun, and it's free sustain. So essentially, you've got a stun in your spammable. It's really good because you lack so many skill slots on a 1-bar build that this basically does loads of those things that you need. So it's really, really useful. I definitely need a damage set. Now I'm just wondering, do we go proc damage or do we use like stats damage? 3.7. If we went infused damage, if that's going to be 4.3 roughly, it's 4.6 buffed. I'm just trying to think about what we add to it. Hey, Sean said he joined the bronze for the month. Yeah, cheers for that. I've got some other stuff coming tomorrow. I've got a bash build which I've updated. It's really fun, and I'm making all these 1-bar builds tonight. But you know, cheers for the support, and yeah, I'm glad you like the pet zoo. It's ridiculous, honestly. It's so freaking stupid. It's one of those ones which I think they're gonna probably nerf it in PvP because it's so hard to fight against. 40k health, massive shields, 5 pets, all targetable, so you can't hit the caster. Ridiculously stupid. Sean says, usually melee gank Nightblade, then realise you get nothing out of it from siphoning. What if you switch it for restoring light? So when you open up your gank, you block for 2 seconds. I would change it to the Sorcerer Dark Magic. You get Crystal Weapon, which has a 5-second buff, and when you do a light attack, it basically has spammable damage. What that means is it's a delayed burst skill that you can use, so when you open up, you have so much more burst. Really, really nasty. The other option is Herald of the Tome. There's a skill in there called Expert Treatise. So I'll show you this. And I've been testing this loads, by the way, as you can probably tell. Herald of the Tome has a skill called Tome Bearer's Inspiration. Recuperative Treatise. This will proc on any class skill. So if you use, say, Concealed Weapon, this will proc on Concealed Weapon. And you can cast this, and it's got like a 30-second duration, so you can cast this really far in the back. You also get really good passives, loads of crit damage, loads of weapon and spell damage, more status damage, more penetration. This is a fantastic skill line for burst and for ganking. So this is really worth looking at. The other option was the Sorcerer Dark Magic, as I was saying, because the Crystal Weapon has a 5-second duration. And what means is that when you cast this, you then have 5 seconds to do the combo. So like Wrecking Blow, Light Attack, Concealed Weapon. This will also proc in that combo, which gives you another 10k damage. It's a really nice burst. The passives are a bit bad in my opinion, but this is really nice. I would say though, you can obviously see the sniper update. The sniper update, in my opinion, hits harder than any melee build I tried. I've been testing melee builds. And the shadow melee build, yes, it works. You get the same killing power, but it's way harder. Why would you just make it harder for yourself? Just use a bow, heavy attack, and kill them. So I'd go down the bow route personally because it kills them just as quick now, and it's at range. And you got defensive rune if you're a sorcerer, which means if you make a mistake, they get stunned anyway. You can run away. Really, really good. Sorry, I do digress. That was a tangent. So yeah, I think set-wise, Wretched. Some of the best damage sets are like Essence Thief, fantastic. Rallying Cry, really good set. Defense. I am leaning. I know people are like, oh, bloody Rallying Cry again. Yeah, no worries, Sean. And yeah, cheers. If you get any questions, just message me in the Discord. I know it's like Rallying Cry, but if you look at our resistances, we can't push them higher, so we need a defense set. Now, is there a defense set that gives you defense and damage? There's not many that do that, apart from Rallying. I know you used to have like 7th Legion Brute. That did get a big nerf though, if I remember, and that was an overland set. Well, let's say it's heavy armor. I think it was heavy armor. It's one of those weird ones. It might have been medium. You know, it's heavy armor. I thought it was heavy armor. You cast ability that costs major or minor resolve, you gain damage. No, that's not what we need. It was the health regen, that's the defense part with it. I'm trying to think of a defensive set. So a set that has a defense and an offense in the skill line like Rallying Cry. There's not many 5 pieces that do that. The concern I have is that we are going to be quite squishy. Without a defensive set, we need to have more healing power or more defense. Now we could use something like a Theory Ascension, which is a really good defensive set, stupidly strong, but we have no damage then. Like, we've got so much sustain, I don't think we actually have an issue with sustain at that point, like it's over sustain. For people curious, the set I'm thinking of, Ethereal Ascension, is a crafted set. I'm not sure it comes from, I'll quickly Google it. Yeah, so Ethereal Ascension. It is a lot of defense. It's from the Reach, Markarth. So this is an insane amount of defense. It does increase the cost of block, sprint, and dodge and break free by 20%. It's not that much actually when you actually play with it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna use Ethereal Ascension. But go medium armor, because that way we can get the damage. We've got enough penetration with the Warden's stuff anyway, as it is. We can then go boosh, boosh, boosh. We'll try and get the heavy chest and legs though. We might have to change yeah, because if we've got a resistance now, we have a lot of resistance. Our sustain is going to be through the roof. So if we attack something, so our sustain is good. So I think we're going to do this. Let's go and infuse these. Because we've got the resistance now. And we can probably stack the damage on those. Consumables. Bear in mind, we've got no sustain food either at the moment, and we have loads of sustain. Probably going to use flame just to have another dot, and if they're a vampire, there's more damage there. Go for that. Go for tri potions. Are we going to use sugar skulls on this? And that gives us pretty decent resource pools. Because obviously our sustain goes up really high. We're going to go sharpened on our staff. And then we're then going to go Lavamundas. I will move my health around a little bit, by the way. So that we get to about 30k health. Yeah, so that's 9k there. We've got 9k pen on the Deep Fisher. So that's 18,000 pens. We've got a good amount of penetration now. Let's go grab an attribute scroll. Let's fix our health so we're a bit bulkier. Yeah, if you've played Warden, I'd be curious to see what you think of this. I've kind of gone for like a sort of magic-y style. Let's go 14 and go 16. That should hopefully get us close enough to 30k. Want a bit more health. I would do 32, 32. There we go. We've got 5k spell damage. 15k there. That 4, 8, 12. So that's our burst still. Obviously that's nice, so I can crit. Let's put our potion on there. So our sustain is 1900, isn't it? But generate crux goes a bit more. What does a crux give us? When you don't correctly restore, that's just restore. And this is your healing done. So that's just free healing. That's actually quite nice. 5k. That's 15k. That's a pretty decent tooltip, essentially, for burst heal. That is direct damage. So 5.3k spell damage, 2k regens with potion. I feel like the sustain might be a little low. We might need one more magical recovery. Having played Warden loads, you typically want about 2k to 2.2k. We've got no glyphs on our jewelry. That's quite interesting. I can probably change some of our attributes around actually then. We want prismatic just to maximise these stam. Let's just make this into... Yeah, so we've got a good amount of stamina there. So impen on all the small pieces, and on the big ones we're going to go with reinforced. So on the chest and the legs, like reinforced is worthwhile. We can run one magma actually to then give us that sustain we need. Let's do that. Let's grab a magma. Do. I feel like I'm quite happy with where this is at, actually, as a build. Go for medium again. Sorry, I'm just looking for the little jewelry box. There it is. Yeah, then that will probably fix the sustain that we're lacking. Then yeah, we'll really tank it all of the time. Look at that. We've got 30k resistances all of the time. We don't have minor resolve, but I don't think there's much we can do about that. Not with the skills we have. This doesn't have to be frost damage. It could just be magic. It could be shock. Probably going to keep it frost anyway, just for the theme. Keep the class mastery. We don't need breach. We don't need brutality. We don't need cowardice. I could probably go with the crit chance. Have the extra crit, because we've got so many crit passives. But 10% there, which is nice. Got all the medium armor ones, which is good. Let's just check what our sustain is like. Can't target those. That's annoying. Yeah, 1900 without a potion. With potion, 2.2k. I'm probably going to put on one recovery. Just that I like to have a little bit extra on my Warden personally. Let's find jewelry enchants. And that will give us plenty of 2000. I think that's buffed. We've got a potion on at the moment. So when our potion's off, it 2k with a potion off, I think. Yeah, 2200 with the potion off, which is great. And with the potion on 2700, which is more than enough. Then our spell damage buffed is 5k almost, so that's pretty decent spell damage. Yeah, I'm quite happy where this is at, actually. I think, having played the Warden before, I think this is pretty decent. We've got good healing, because that will get higher and higher as we use it more. Then we really take advantage of all our passives. I just wonder whether we run Purifying Light, because it's basically a delayed burst skill, which we kind of do need. We run the execute. We've got a choice here, basically. Let's hop into IC quickly, and then I'll do a buff up there so you can see what it's like in Cyrodiil. Or like with a sort of battle spirit add, basically. And I probably have time to do one more like build. So if you have a preference, I really want to see like X class, then let me know in the comments or like in the chat, and I'll obviously try and make that. So we're just gonna quickly pop up here just to get a rough feel for like what is the damage like, because you get the damage reduction in PvE, in PvP, sorry. Yeah, our sustain feels nice. They're red. Let's go to yellow. Torminator says, what other set? We're using Ethereal Ascension. So we have 30k resistance always. And then when we're buffed up, we have 5k spell damage, which is nice. We've got about 17k pen with the debuffs factored in. So our pen's pretty decent. Yeah, because to this, 4,925 spell damage. And then when we keep using the Deep Fissure, as long as we keep Deep Fissure active, our Wretched Vitality is always on. Because it procs. And it lands and it procs both of those for us. And we also have the Execute when they're low health. And the sustain is really, really decent. And if you go a bit too early with the beam, it lasts so long, it's still going to be decent. I want to see the healing power. Because we're using this as our heal. So what's that? Yeah, that's like essentially 10k there. Let's get low. Okay, 7k. 4k. I ran into that last one. That was my mistake. Where's consumables? So I'll grab another soul gem quick. There. That charm is really, really nice. That free stun is like insanely good. Yeah, our sustain is really nice. Right, so we're at 11k. 12k. That was 10,000 of healing there. Let's do it again. Essentially, we need our, like, when we push the heal button to give us around 10k healing. On average. It's 16k. That was 9,000 worth there. I'm just testing that healing. 14,000. 10k there. That was about 10.5. That was 7k. That was a 10k again. That was a 9k. Yeah, so it looks like we're getting roughly 9 to 10k like every single time we push it, which is a really good burst deal. Let's push it here, 2k. So if we block cast this, yeah, that feels like a pretty decent heal actually. Yeah, because you can animation cancel it still. Yeah, and I would have no issue fighting this. Yeah, that roll dodge heal still works. You have to like really be spamming skills to run out of magicka in this. Potion heal. Yeah, look at that. The potion heal got us 15k from 3. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this, I think. What's the healing near here? Because this counts as a keep. So 5, 10, 15, 17k tooltip essentially. That's pretty good for a burst steel tooltip. We're gonna get killed, and then we're gonna leave this character. I think this character is finished. I'm quite happy with where this is at, in all honesty. If you have like any suggestions, like, oh, this might be a better setup, then let me know in the comments. But I'm probably going to keep that as it is. I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, look, potion and heal is like half your health by one go. It's a really good way to recover. Damage was pretty decent. Is it 15k there? 9k spammable is very standard. I think with our sorcery is about 10k. Let's just double check that quick. Yeah, 9-3. And then what is here's my superstar. So for people curious, that's what we're using on the Warden. I think this is like what I'm going to run on our Oaken build next patch. 5.3k spell damage buffed, which is really nice. 16, 17k pen when we got the debuffs on them. Loads of resistances, as you see. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to switch character now and probably do one more build and then call it a night. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to put on the class select thing again. We've got a few options. So I'm going to turn that one off. We're going to spin it and see what's left. So we have... Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's going to be Templar, isn't it? Oh no, it's Sorcerer. Sorcerer. Oh, this is going to be a great one. So yeah, we're going to make a Sorcerer next as our next class for an Oaken build. The aim of these builds, as you've probably seen, is to try and keep the essence of what the class is, and then adding in subclassing to make it better, if possible. So I think we've got some ideas already in mind. But there's the Sorcerer pick. So then if you are watching in the future, you can just like fast forward to the class icon. We're going to delete him. And then we're going to create a brand new character, which can be a Sorcerer, Dark Elf, just because it gives you like a generic set of stats. Oakensoul Unified. And I think we are good to go. And hopefully this, I think, will give people ideas of like what to do, because how we've basically got the core essence of the class still. We've just added scribe and a subclass just to enhance it where possible. And I hope that like people like that kind of idea. I can see some really cool ideas with Salt, but also quite a few problems. So I don't think it's going to be as simple as people think because of the changes to the shield. So we're going to quickly pick up the subclassing stuff and then jump into the house and go from there. If you have ideas already of what you'd run, then obviously let me know. But I'm thinking the typical, you know, go over the shield. That's like the iconic Sorc skill. We then somehow need a way to get passive healing. Robert says, is this going to be the Sorc? Yeah. So what I've done is I've done a DK, which I'm happy with that. I like that build. It felt pretty decent in IC. I was killing bosses by myself absolutely fine without any real worry. Big heals, good damage, good burst. Did a Warden, which I'm really happy with. That tanky, really good, got executes now. So now we're going to try and make an Oaken bar Sorc to see can we make it better than what it currently is. That's the plan. Whether we get there, I'm not sure, but I've got some ideas. So the first thing we do is we grab the subclass in, and then we go to the house, and then we can do it all over there. And then with these like Oakensoul type 1-bar builds, I will make videos for them, breaking them all down just for like people in the members and stuff, or like just early access before I've tested it fully. That way they've got like a here's what I'm using, this is why I'm using what I'm using, and then I will make the build on live when it patch drops tomorrow. Monday. And then I'll add gameplay with it, so you can kind of see, oh, it does work. That's kind of the plan, and I'll tweak it if needed. Always show. Okay, so the one thing we've done on all of these is had a look at the class sets to see can we get the class set in or the class mastery to try and make it feel like a Sulk. That's like, for me personally, I want my class to feel similar to like what it should be. And the hope is that when we do these like ideas in these builds, it gives people, oh, I've got a sorcerer lying around. I could add this, or I could use this, and it's going to work. Rather than going, oh damn it, I wish I made a new one. Robert said a lightning themed build would be sulky. Yeah, we're gonna use the class mastery. It's too good not to use. We'll put on breach. So this basically becomes a spammer with just 3 damage. It's really good. So like, yay. So that is a very good skill. So what I've been doing to try and get these builds viable is I'm looking at the skills first and the passives before I do any sets, because what you see very, very quickly when you like start to mess with this system is you have, in many cases with the older classes, a skill line that doesn't really benefit you massively with the passives, so you can then double down on more damage or double down on more healing or more sustain, and that's what we've been trying to do. So we're going to just reset all the passives to like the base Sulk, put in all the class skills that we'd normally use, to then go, okay, can we swap any out for something better? That's the best way I found to build this. So on a typical sorcerer, you would have crystal frags, you would have a massive shield, so a hardened ward. On my old one, I used to run the Twilight as the burst heal, and I used to run streak. So you put streak there, and we used to have the Twilight. Now, this is what I found gave you the best balance between damage, healing, etc. Yeah. The heal on the Sulk is pretty mid, in all honesty. It's not that useful. We do need the shield, which means we can't drop this skill line. That's non-negotiable, yeah? I also think the Overload is one of the better ultimates for the Sorcerer, unless you go with Dawnbreaker, and Streak is so iconic. The passives are fantastic, so you probably want to keep this line and this line, which means Dark Magic acts as our burst skill, and we could, in theory, use Haunt and Curse. That is definitely viable, yeah? The issue we're lacking is we don't have a burst skill currently that's like reliable. Curse could be it, or we could go and we don't have a burst heal, because this is a shield but it doesn't heal us, which is a problem. The other morph really lowers the shield, it just lowers the size of the shield so much that it's not worth it. So I don't think the other shield one is worth using, even if it gives us a little bit of healing, which means we need to find a way to get healing in the build without foregoing something. Can we do anything with class mastery or anything like down here? No, you can get the, see, there's nothing here that gives us healing directly other than remedy, but it's very low. so that's not worth it. So let's grab some scrolls. We need a burst skill that gives us like passive healing, basically. Or we get healing from sets. That's the other option. Maybe go down that route. So we could change the Sorcerer one to go with the Nightblade Assassination. That will give us Merciless Resolve, which is a better spec Crystal Frag. You get better passives in the skill line too. Just loads of crit chance, basically. But that could be our burst skill. We can stack this twice, which means we don't need 2 burst skills, because this is twice in 1 skill, which will probably, I think that's actually quite a good idea. Don't have a good burst heal. And the spammable, this is good here. Trying to think of any kind of burst heals we could have access to. Obviously the shield is the burst heal, to be fair, so we need to heal over time. That heals us. One sort of either by light attacks. There's no passive healing other than we could use Crit Surge. Let's look at they did change the summon and passive. Increase your max magic. So 5% more health is not bad. Let's go get the sets on. We'll deal with the heal problem in a moment, because we could just use Vigor. Like, that is an option, and Vigor's decent. It's also minor resolve, so it's more armor. So again, it's a really good option. We are going to go down the max mag route. We're going to push the shield like to the moon, get it as high as we can. And what's nice is, I think it's this one down here in the Nightblade. It gives us crit chance, and it gives us crit chance too, which actually ends up helping us our lower crit. So armor and weapons. And we want that. We want overland sets and monster sets. So, just thinking out loud, I've got 2 ideas in mind. We're looking for the max stam Dominoes, wherever it is. Gone past it. So let's go get a heavy one of these, because we do want to make our resources somewhat okay. And then we're going to grab another once a piece. We go for Swarm Mother. Again, it's max magic and max health. Go Impen on this. So you might notice we're trying to stack those max resources. We need that off stat. God, that helmet looks awful. So bad. Overland sets, the light armor, trainee. Crafty Alfiq. Absolute stable. Jewelry, weapons, and sash. 1, 2, thank you very much. Lightning staff. Let's go grab a mythic item. Go high oil. There we go. So let's put this stuff on a moment. Check where we are with stats. We'll grab some food as well. We might need that one. I'm thinking about our sustain might be a little low. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces spare. What's our magical on? 41k at the moment. Let's just do our CP quick. I'm just putting in the CP. I'm trying to make this Sulk like feel like a Sulk still, just with some added bonuses, basically, with the subclassing. And I hope people kind of, when they see these like Oakensoul builds, they kind of get that sort of feeling that like this is still Sorcerer with just a bit of this. Just getting a bastion up here. This will be the last one I do tonight though, guys, because it is late where I am. In the refuge. And then again, we'll go for the max health. I wonder whether we want that 150. This is always on in PvP. 150, was it? It's just 90. Okay, so I think we are at the main ones that we need. Okay. So our magic is on 43k. Our health is pretty high though, to be fair. Why is our health so high? Oh. Trying to work out why is my health so high. That was why. So we can go down the trainee. How many pieces do we have? Left 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So we could do 2 trainee, 2 willpower. That would work. Let's grab that one and that one. Which means we need hands and feet of crafty. This is our ideal one, by the way. If we stack the max resource, how high does it go? We need to get some willpower jewelry going. So I've deliberately chosen sets, as you can probably tell, where the 2 pieces are slightly stronger than normal by about 50%. Again, just to try and maximize our stats. Let's put all our glyphs to Magicka. Consumables. With Magica. But the spell damage in case we need it too. Okay, so we've got 50k Magicka, which for a 1 bar build, there's a lot of Magicka. It's a lot of Magicka, that is. What's us saying like though? 1800 recovery is pretty decent. Our pen does, we do have major breach, but our pen does need some love, in all honesty. But 25k spec bow though, that is pretty good. We can stack this twice, can't we? Once summoned, you can activate the Twilight special thing. Heal. See, the heal is it's so low. I'm just going to charge our spec bar up and just see how much the heal goes to. Okay, so fully buffed, we have 4k spell damage, which is pretty decent. 50k mag for 1 bar build, really high actually. 1800 recovery, it's just getting pretty decent. Feel like this is pretty good actually. Is it almost 12k plus that? It's almost 15k spammable. That is really high for a spammable. Our spec bow, what's that? 26k, which is a huge burst. Shields 19k, so in PvP that's roughly 18k. Not 18k. Does be about 13k. About 12-13k in PvP. I don't think this is worth it. How much health do we lose if we drop it? Let's drop the pet for a second. $26k, and put it back on. So we gain 1,100 health. It's not a huge amount of health, is it really, actually? What do we do without the heal? That's the issue. Because the damage and everything else is really nice. Shield is good, damage is good, sustain's surprisingly good. 1800 without a potion. The health is not bad, you know, 26k health is decent because you've got a massive shield that goes on the top. I feel like our resistances are not great. Vigor might fix this. Vigor might be the way around this all. Yeah, 25k. That's obscene. Look at that. It's because Vigor scales so well with max resource. Yeah, I think we do that because that gives us the healing power that we need. We still got the burst skill. Recovery. That could be. That should be recovery here. And then we could put arcane on it to get more magicka. Let's make this sharpened. Because we're going to lose a bit because obviously we have to retrade our stuff. That way at least we've kind of got something decent. Because you don't need to have really high resistances on a soak. Like you need to have like 25-ish. Hey Nibia, that is a great option. I don't even know why I didn't think that, because that gives us more big brain there. Absolutely love it. That is a really good shout. That is. What's our? Yeah, almost 50k magicka, 1900 regen, because you can put on the intellect and endurance on the back on the contingency. Healing, burst heal, gladiator damage reduction, fantastic. Heal over time is not terrible. It's not terrible. It's not vigor by any means. And sustain. Then we've got, because when we use this, 99. Do we have? Does Oakensoul give this already? It does. Okay, we don't need that. The bottom script I can change. See, this is why you need to check stuff. We don't have resolve though, so we could put that on. Because then it basically becomes vigor just with a burst heal. So you got 26k resist, 24k physical. That's not terrible. Our sustain's good. With a potion, 2.4k recovery, I'll take that. 50k magicka, 25k health. Loads of stam. I feel like it's a pretty decent spec. Because we also have the overload here, which again hits really hard. Now that burst there is really nasty. Even vibrant shroud is better than the ugly bird. The problem with the bird, the Twilight, is people kill it. Look at this, our sustain is fantastic. And we can literally spam that for days. 2.4, yeah. We can literally do this for absolutely ages. I just wonder with the 25k health, is it worth sacrificing 5k mag for 5k HP? Just to give us the breathing space that if we're walking around and we get caught off guard, we're not going to die straight away. Did you see what I mean? Because I know, having played a ganker, I will be looking for people with 25k health. They are an instant kill if they're not buffed. And yes, we're walking around with our buffs on pretty much all the time. But unless we're walking around with a shield all of the time, if that drops, you are vulnerable. Let's do this. I think maybe a good mid ground would be moving our attributes around to maximise the shield. In PvP. I did this last time in my previous one. And there is like a sweet spot where if you have slightly too much magicka than health, you actually lose out. So what's our shield? Our shield should be, I'm going to say 12k. That's better, that's 13, it's a lot bigger than I thought. That is a big shield. Yeah. Hello. I am back now. Apologies for that. Yeah, so I think with where we are with the Sorcerer, we are at a pretty good place. Simon says, what's the second skill? It's Merciless Resolve. So the skill lines are Summoning, Stormcall, and Assassination. Basically, this is like a better frags. You can charge it 2 times in a row. It shoots way harder. It heals you. The passives are better. It's basically just frags, but just better. There is a weird bug though where I can't target stuff, as you can see. Really weird. I think when it's fully buffed, it was 26, almost 27,000 tooltip. So it was hitting things for 47,000 when it was created. On a player, it's about 11k. You can shoot 2 in a row, so it's like 20k burst, going bang bang. Still can't target those. We'll pop into the next zone. I'll quickly just buff up once more, show the superstar. What's also nice with it, Simon, is you can make people eat the spec bow. Like on a Nightblade, one of the issues you had was when you charge spec bow, people could avoid it. So if I charge it here, this thing here is so freaking hard. This spammable. Look at that, 11.5k plus 3k at the bottom, and it goes up more and more that we're in combat. So let me just charge these up quickly. So this is us buffed. Okay. Our shield is 13,300, so good size shield. We've got a decent burst still, almost 13k. It's a good burst still. Our spammable is 11,800 plus 2,009, so basically 15k spammable. 15,000 spammable was ridiculous. Sorry, it's actually stupid. We got a spec bow which heals us as we do damage, as you just saw. Our sustain's 2,400, 2,600 with CP when we get debuffed and stuff, so loads of sustain. Our resistances are pretty good. And with the changes to Merciless Resolve, you can stack it twice now. Let me just... He's not playing nice, is he? He's in rage at the moment. So you can see it's 26,000. You can stack 2 in a row. So what that means is when you see a target, you can basically have overload on. So you do your light attack spec bow streak, and it will do something like this. And then you shoot the second one there. That combo, the first light attack spec bow, would hit them really hard, take off any shield and stuff. The streak will then stun them, allowing you to get the second spec bow to get the kill. What's also nice with this is that it gives you healing. As you do damage, you heal from it. Simon says, so you need a Nightblade subclass for it? Yes. So you have to be a sorcerer. So what I've been doing, I've done 3 classes so far tonight. I'm going to probably do 1 more maybe. And I've kind of gone, if we took the class, made Oakensoul, min-maxed it as best we can, and then added in subclassing, can we make it stronger? And I think what we've got here is a good example of that. We've got 50,000 magic on a 1 bar build, which is obscenely high for 1 bar. Loads of sustain, good health, 25k health. We can drop some magic of our health if we want, that's easy. Or we can change Mundus for the lady, I think it is. Sorry, I was talking to the wife. Yeah, so we could change like these around to get a bit more health if we want, loads of stam. So I'm actually really happy with where this is at. It's also laid out in a very weird way to like really maximize the stats, which I know sounds a bit like people always say that, but like we've gone 1 Dommy, so we get magic and stamina, 1 Swarm Mother, magic and stamina, 2 Trainee, magic and stamina, 2 Willpower, Magicka. But you might notice that these 2 pieces are higher than normal 2 pieces. This is 50% stronger. These Trainee ones are, I think, about 25% stronger than normal. And then the Dommy House and the Swarm Mother, they give you bonus Magicka or bonus stamina. So you get an extra 2k stam by doing this. Which means we can stack all our stats really high, fix our sustain with glyphs on our jewelry, and then using sustain food. So we end up with really high resources. The spell damage is decent because this gives us spell damage. So I'm actually really happy with where this is at. This is the superstar for people curious. This is what I would use on my 1 bar build. I think this is probably the best set you'll get. It's got really high burst, really great shields and healing because of that, the mobility, and it feels like a Sorc. So that's kind of what these 1 bar builds are about. I'm going to switch character now. I will. Simon says, do you think reinforced or Nernhound for chest? Reinforced is better statistically. The only time you use Nernhound is when you have like odd weights. In most cases for PvP you want reinforced on heavy pieces, and that only counts on the chest, the legs and the helmet. The shoulders have the same weight value as the helmet, so you could do the shoulders too. And then you'll then do impen on the others because the bonus that Nernhound gives is not worth the bonus crit damage taken. So as a result, you're better stacking reinforced on the chest and the legs, impen on everything else. That's kind of like the best all round. So I'm going to put on the little wheel once more and I'll see what it lands on. If it's one that's quick, I'll do it. If it's not quick, I'll probably pause it here and maybe do it the next stream, maybe do a stream tomorrow just to like wrap up all the Oaken builds. Because we've done tonight Warden, DK, Sorcerer, so some decent stuff. But I want to try something else. So we'll spin the wheel and we'll see what we get. We've got 4 choices. Necro, Nightblade, Arcanist. Necro's going to be the hardest to do in all honesty. Arcanist is pretty easy to do. Templar's pretty easy. So we'll see what we get. If it's a really, really tricky one, it's going to be Necromancer in it, of course it is. The will has spoken. Okay, I've got Necromancer to do. Let's see what we can do with that. We've got a few ideas, but we'll see. There's a Necromancer image at the top. So like the images also give you an idea of what we're trying to do. So you go, oh, what class was he working on at that moment in time? So we'll delete him. And then we're going to go for a Necromancer. Now, what can we do for the Necro? We're going to go Dark Elf again, just as it's a good like base class. Base race, sorry. Necromancer. Oakensoul Unified. Okay. And then voila. So, I am curious, what can we do to make the Necromancer feel more interesting? Like, I want it to feel like a Necromancer still, obviously. You might have noticed if you've been watching how I've been building these builds, I've been doing it in such a way where there's like a set of core buffs always active. So I always look for like to go, do I have this much HP? Do I have this much sustain? Do I have these types of skills? I find that's the most effective way to build a character. Do you have a movement skill? Do you have a burst skill? Do you have a spammer ball? Do you have a heal over time. Simon says he almost knew nothing about the other classes than Sorcerer. I think what's cool is that you can mix and match them now. I like it personally. It also though lets you highlight the power creep. So like what you'll find is lots of skill lines have like one or two. So lots of classes have one or two skill lines that are a bit like, the passives aren't that great. And then what we've been doing is basically trying to fix the passives, basically. I got William with the stats, I love it. A little tip, this is going to sound really stupid to people. This vendor, but NPC here, you have to speak to her once. She lets you pick a skill line. Then you have to speak to her again to confirm the skill line. Then you have to speak to her a third time to complete the quest. If you don't speak to her that last time, you can't change your skills. It's really freaking annoying. Like, I don't know why you need to do it a third time. You've shown that you can change the quest, like you can change the skill line. Why do you need to come back to go, I've already done it? But I don't know, it just really annoys me. It's caught me out so many times when I've been testing this PTS cycle because it's not intuitive. You complete the quest and she goes, congratulations. Like you end the dialogue and then you have to speak to her again and go back into the dialogue option, which is weird. It's a little pet peeve of mine. So when you're building the like sort of subclassing classes, what you want to do if you want to have a theme in mind, start with the skills. A lot of people will tell you to go with the sets. I thoroughly disagree with that. What you'll find in most cases is that the skills will dictate the sets on a sort of fully set up build. The only times you build around a set is if the set does something that the skills cannot do completely. So like a good example is using Rush for Agony. There's no skill that pulls people in like that. That's also on a sort of streak type skill. So obviously with that in mind, you kind of like may build around that one set, but generally not. You want to build around your skills because I find you get more success in more cases, which is kind of how I build all my builds. You've probably noticed. So we're going to have a look at the options for Necro and what we can do. We've got 5 skills. We load it out with kind of what we do typically, then we add in subclassing to try and make it better and scribing. So if you're playing as a Necro, you're going to use Blast Bones. That is like non-negotiable. The spammable is pretty... It's just terrible. Okay, the spammable is bad. We don't need that because we've got a damage buff already. There's not much in here other than this that we'll use, in all honesty. Bone Tyrant. There's nothing here. What do these passives do? Are there any good passives? Because on a 1-bar build, what you can do, like, for example, we're not going to slot any of these, so that's useless. That's useless. That's kind of okay. But again, you don't have one of these slotted, so that's useless. So 3 of these passives on an Oakensoul build do not help us at all. Which means this is not worth running. Like, we should drop Bone Tyrant instantly because we're not going to use any of those skills. We're not going to benefit from 3 of those passives. Live in Death. This works well with the Mender, and this does give us our burst heal, so we're probably going to keep this because it's a decent burst heal. It also gives us the sustain from the kind of blast bones and stuff. You also get critical strike. So this isn't a bad one to use. It is a very good heal. It also gives us resource. So we are missing an awful lot on this class. We don't have a movement skill. We don't really have a good heal over time. We don't have a good spammable. We don't have a good ultimate because they're all bad. So yeah, we're going to have to drop Bone Tyrant and need to get a spammable in the build. The question is what kind of spammable or what thing would help us, because I feel like we lack damage. So I'm gonna grab a scroll quick. And I like to try and kind of explain my thought process of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that way, if you kind of look at back in the future, you got an idea. We're also going to get scribing stuff too. Because again, scribing can fix some of these issues. So I can see quite a few problems already with the Necro. Sorry, my chair is pretty squeaky tonight. Yeah, so let's look at getting a spammable win that's usable. The question is, do we go melee or mag or range? So melee, mag, range. Which one? I've put a poll up to kind of go, what would you want, a melee mag, melee stam, range mag, or range stam? If it's melee mag, we're going to be a vampire. If it's a ranged mag, we can use like Wield Soul or Crush and Shock. If it's a melee, we'd use probably Dizzy and Swing or Rapid Strikes. Wield Soul, we can kind of go in that disease fantasy. So you go with disease damage here. Kind of for optimal, you'd go flame damage in all honesty. People are vampires is like the better one. The class mastery, once every 3 seconds, increase your health, magic, and stamina by 2% for 10 seconds for each corpse within 12 meters, up to 10 times. Yeah, it's not that good though, because we don't use corpses. William said, have I updated the Doppler build? I've been working on an update to that with subclassing. It's not quite finished, but I can show it. It's like mostly there, so I can show it before I log off if you remind me, because I will forget. Lingering Torment. Breach. I think that gives us... This gives us a spammable. That's actually decent. So we've got a decent spammable there. Yeah, so the poll was saying like ranged mags. We'll kind of go that route then. I think all range is, it's generally range basically is what people are going for. Mag or stam, mag or stam. Let's look at the class sets. I want it to feel like, realistically, this will not feel much like a Necromancer, to be blunt. Do you get what I mean? Like, we're using 2 skills, the rest are going to be just other stuff. So, let's look at the class sets. Maybe there's a good class set. I don't think there is, but... no. That's Templar, that's DK, that is Sorcerer, that was Necro. Consuming a corpse causes it to explode. Damage, minor breach. See, this isn't great though. The damage isn't that high. They have to be near them, so you basically make like mines on the floor, but they're not armed, so they can just be avoided easily. So class and bone type. While in combat, grants you beautiful corpse and death's favour. Death's favour increases your healing. Received and reduces damage by 12% based on your health. Passing a corpse with consumer ability assumes beautiful corpse treating you as a corpse. is really cool thematically. And I've used it before when I've been messing around with it when it came out, where you can put things like shock and siphon on you and have it around you, which is pretty cool. It's quite fun. So then you can just walk around with that, or you can put on like the tether, and you can tether to yourself, which again is quite cool. So you become just basically like it's a free AoE heal. It's not that practical though, that's the problem with it. So I don't think the class sets are really worth using, to be blunt. So at which point we are missing some stuff. Let's go fix the missing gaps we have now then. So we need a mobility skill, which will be race against time. That's mobility fixed. So we've got spammable, burst skill, burst heal, mobility. We do not have a stun. The way we fix that is Dawnbreaker. That's normally the easy fix for that, because it gives you at least a stun that's somewhat reliable. It's quite cheap. You can use it quite often. And we don't have an execute. Now I know as a Necro you kind of get this weird one down here with this this here. There's just more crits. So I feel like we're going to lack burst, is my feeling. I don't think we're going to have killing power. So we need to do something to get us more killing power to make this viable. We also will have sustain issues because we have no good sustain skills. Okay, it gives me an idea of like where the weaknesses are in the build. Now I love the idea of putting Templar and then using is it this one down here, Restoring Light? Because we could drop that there and then go with, is it Repentance? Now, unfortunately we have these regions anyway, but you could use this. And then we could then actually use our corpses. So we could like honor the dead, literally use the corpse. And then turn it into stamina. Which is like a really cool thematic thing. So like what we would basically do is whilst we're in combat and we send our blast bones, we can then use Repentance to heal. Which, and because you can stack it around there, go boop. Like it's a really cool thematic idea. Is it worth it though? That's the question. Because all those minor things we get anyway. And the stamina's nice. I don't think the heal was going to be strong enough. And then we then have to run that. You can see like where Necro is really difficult to build around. And we do lose our sustain. So I don't think, as fun as that sounds, as like a cool thematic idea, I don't think it's that effective, which is the problem. Because this one gives us the sustain. We don't benefit from that though. We don't use corpses, that's the problem. We do get more crit healing chance, and I don't know if it's worth it actually. Do you think it's worth it? Just looking at this, is it worth using this or just using the Templar? Yo. I'm looking at the Templar. The Restore and Light one has just like better stuff. Because yes, you don't get that sustain, but then this basically refunds your sustain because it basically gives you it back for free. You always get more healing the lower health they are. You got them ult. Get quicker resurrections, which kind of plays with that Necromancer sort of undead mastery type theme. You could then play with the Repentance if you wanted as an option. Doesn't fix the damage though. I think I'm gonna go with this, just Honor the Dead. I think that's probably a better one. And then let's see if we can get... We probably need Burst or an Execute. Now if we did that, we can't then use Dawn's Wrath because we have access, we already have the heal there. So that's not going to work. Having a summon will be cool, but they're not that practical. Storm Calling is a lot of damage. Is also overload because of a decent ult. But there's no burst, so that's not an option there really, is it? The summoning would give us Curse, which is a burst skill. You restore when that would work. That wouldn't work, but that's more max resource. That could be quite nice. So maybe that. Because we've got our spam balls. We've got our burster, which is a good one. This template up the hill is good. Pays for itself, which is nice. We've got the curse and the blast bones. Because obviously the assassinations are just good for any class. It hits hard, the bow. But I want it to kind of feel like a dark wizardy type thing. And this just doesn't feel like a Necromancer. I'm using one skill. This is what I was saying about Necromancer being really hard to build around, because it's very awkward to do. Like the class skills that themselves are just really bad. Nothing good there. And like if we're going to be a Necro, we're going to kind of want to live in death. To at least feel more Necro-y. So I'm trying to make it where like the class feels like your class, if that makes sense. And then maybe if I change the Fiery Soul to Chilling Soul, it feels a bit more like undeathy. We then have like the freezing, the blast bones, curse, not sold and curse though. So let's see if there's a better choice. Oh, the passives help us out. They're quite good. Warden passives are quite good. There's recovery, which is very helpful. Crit damage, which is nice. It just feels very much like you're playing a Warden at that point. Not what we're trying to do. But then it would give us a better move skill. Oh. Stain. This feels like a better skill line for what we need. Thorn's Wrath could be quite good. You do it the Sorcerer, which damage boost, reduction, alt gen. We can then go with like Living Dark, Backlash, and Purify and Light. It's trying to find, this sounds really silly, but it's trying to find the balance between what is like just really effective and what is kind of still a semblance of the class identity and still fun. I'm kind of leaning towards that, but if I was going to be like effective, it will probably be Assassination or Animal Companions. I feel like we can make this work though, I do. Let's put on the beam, and let's change this to Meteor. Go Ice Comet, because this stuns them. We could then send in the Blast Bones with the Comet, and then the beam. And if they don't block it, then we'll probably get a kill. Because this hits really hard. And then set-wise. And CP. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of like why the Necro is so hard to build. Like to try and keep it as a Necro, but possible, like viable. Not that great. Like I could go like Masterlock Vampire, and that works, and that's pretty decent. But you don't have the bar space. So then again, that becomes a problem. So I'm just putting on all the blue CP that we need, roughly. You know what I noticed with these Oakensoul builds, what we've gone is for more stats. Because damage is going up this patch. Alright, so our CP's in. We need to get some sets on this. Now, if we're going at range, which is obviously clearly what this is, we will probably need a defensive set. Because you kind of want to be like medium range. So I'm probably going to go with Rally and Cry, because that's just a really good set. I'm going to go Waste Weapons. Let's get the Lightning Staff. That can go there. Let's get the Mythic. Lord Oakensoul, thank you, my friend. so we now need something to complement this. Now we could fix sustain with glyphs and food, and that would do that nicely. So I think we need like a good damage proc set. Not any real good ones that are reliable. Is that every second? No, it's not. It's every 2 seconds. I was wondering whether we use Ice Furnace. Or we go down Wretched route. I think we go down the Wretched route. It's the most stat dense way to try and give us what we need. And then we can put all our stuff into damage on our jewelry. Yum. So on a monster set, I will go after this one because I am very tired now. Okay, so get our consumables and our food. I want 3 spell damage. Pick up bottles and maximize the damage. And because we got the, we're going to put our damage through the jewelry, we should be able to get somewhat okay damage. Yeah, 31k magic, that's nice. Our recovery is a bit low, but when we get into fighting, what does it go up to? I'll proc both. 1600 is not terrible. But we need to get the lover on this. That's sharpened. So obviously we've got the breach as well. So our spell damage will be. We might need to drop one though. I think we're gonna have to drop one to get glyph in. Let's get some prismatic. I think I read them out, didn't I? There, so that gives us a good amount of health to work, 28k health, plenty of health. Good stam, good sort of like base stats. Let's change our traits around on our armor. Okay, so that's that done there. Means our pen is 7.6 plus the 6, so about 13.5, 14k pen. Not terrible. Our armor's a little low, but that does this gives us armor as we heal. So that will help get it up a bit higher. And we do have Rally on top, which will give us loads of crit resist. What's the sustain like? With patient, yeah, we need a glyph. We do. Let's get a recovery glyph on there. That says 1600. 1800. I still think we might need one more. We'll then lose a lot of spell damage. Because we need about 5k. At the moment we've got about 5k with this. Which means our blast bones actually does a decent amount of damage. Let's go to consumables and change our food around maybe. Just wonder whether we can get. We're going to lose quite a bit of health from doing this. So on 28k health. 26k. Our recovery though is way higher. Got a jewelry here. 1500 with potion, 2-3. So that 2-3 is pretty decent. That's 16, that's slightly less than it was before. Let's put on our damage buff there. Yeah, so that's actually slightly higher. Yeah, that's more than it was before. I probably would keep one regen. Magic recovery. I think I'm pretty much there. I just need to shift some attributes around, I do. Robert was saying for the Necro, he was thinking of doing a dot build. The problem with dot builds is you spend so much time trying to get the dots on them that then they fall off quite quick. And then if you miss a dot, it's really punishing. If they have a cleanse, it's really bad. So you end up having to like really stack the dots, and because you only have 5 skill slots, you don't have enough. It then becomes a problem. It will put a bit more. 32, 32. Is it 24 maybe? Yeah, that works out okay. Because I think we are there with this. I think this is like the best all-round we're going to probably get for this type of Necro. Trying to keep it feeling like a Necro. I know it sounds silly. Yeah, there's no more armor we can get here. Easily. What's that heal tooltip? 16k, that's a massive heal tooltip. Yeah, that's more like it. 17. Oh, that is a pretty decent one. I'm gonna pop into IC. I think this is mostly there. I'm just gonna check that I have what I want. That needs to be fire. Yeah, obviously we could use double dot poisons as an option, which kind of would lend to the build, what we're trying to do. Yeah, we're going to jump into Imperial City. I'm only going to be in there for a couple of minutes. I just basically want to see how is survival, how is the burst. I think the burst is going to be a bit awkward compared to the other builds we made tonight, which had much cleaner burst combos. I feel like this one's going to be a little bit weaker because of blast bones. No, we can't stack 2 delayed bursts easily. We can obviously change the execute to be curse. But that said, blast bones does hit like a truck. The only issue I have is how easy can we proc Rally and Cry. Robert was saying it's a shame that some of the status effect passives look really fun to build around. They look good. Let me just... so we're buffed up. Got a rally gun. Yeah. I need like a heal over time or something. Because without that, we can't proc rallying quite easily. Oh, this hits hard. Our burst was nice and big. Just see if we can get a crit. 11k, yes. How much does the torment do? So it did like an extra couple hundred. I think we might be able to keep Riley up. Yeah, and have a little think about it. But yeah, I think this is probably the best time to get this tonight. I might change the skill slightly. So the scribe skill, I'm thinking Willed Soul, Frost, Sage's Remedy, then Breach, only because it gives us a heal over time, which is nice. We need, but also that heal over time means we can proc Rally easily, which makes it easier to play. The small damage you get from the dot I don't think is worth it. And I think this just makes it easier to use, so I'd probably do this. Which I do now just so people are like curious as to why. And then I'll show the super style of it like together and wrap the stream up here. The spell damage wise, we have 5.5k spell damage. That's 17k blast bones. That is a good blast bones, that is. With a 18k burst tilt tooltip. Spammables, 10k. So we've got like decent damage. We'll let them kill us quickly. Get some other ones. Chelsea's asking, are Oakensoul builds worth it? Yes and no. In my opinion, a good Oakensoul build is around 90% of the power of a 2-bar build in most cases. There are a few exceptions on some classes where you get almost identical power. So like Sorcerer is a really good example. My Sorcerer I made earlier, very similar stats to my 2-bar version. It's just easier to play. So with that in mind, if you're someone who's new to PvP, Oakensoul builds are worth looking into. That's why I'm making like a range of them. So this one here, for example, which is, I'm quite happy with where this is at. For a Necro, we're trying to keep it, feels a bit like a Necro at least, with the blast bones, with the heal. We've got the execute, which we didn't normally have. We've got a decent spammable from scribing. We've got our movement skill still. And this felt like the best all around. Our resistances are a bit low. The rallying does help fix that somewhat. But the issue you have with such little bar space, you are always limited on like buffs. We can't get minor resolve without dropping one of these skills. So we could drop Radiant Oppression and get the armor buff, but then we lose the execute. And that's the one downside of Oakensoul builds, is you don't have the utility or the flexibility to change based on sort of where you are. And so you end up finding like you kind of sort of very much a sort of one shoe type thing. Like, you know, you're not a jack of all trades. You can't, you know, go into 1vx, go into group play, go into battlegrounds, go into easily. With an Oakensoul build, you have to kind of focus more on group play, not 1vx. There's obviously a few exceptions, but that's kind of the thing with those. Somebody was asking the other earlier in chat, I think it was William, about the dot build, the dot plar. So this is the dot par that I've been working on. All of these builds, by the way, I've made like loads, are on my Patreon and on like members. So there's a lot like coming tomorrow. She'll be give people like, I think there's about 4 or 5 videos coming tomorrow with just different builds I've been making. For this one, this is a dot build. Basically, it's how many dots can we stack to make it viable? And to be fair, I was able to duel on this. As soon as you get the dots on somebody, loads of dot damage. Is it the best setup yet? I know I need to tweak it further. So what I was experimenting was with a DK. I wouldn't use a DK for this in all honesty. The range dots and the melee dots. The melee dots are better, but you're you can't get close enough to them to keep these on them. And then if you're doing that, you need to get all the other dots on them, and they're going to run away. So then you end up missing these dots. So I found that using Vampire's Bane, the Templar dot, fantastic. Really worth using this skill line because you got Power of the Light, which is a delayed burst. Your dots do damage, they fill this up for free. Nice synergy there. Living Dark, really good heal. Radiant Impression is your execute if you want it. These are good passives down here. So this skill line is like a really good one to go for. The Animal Companions, Fetcher Infection is fantastic, is one of the best dots in the game for range. You also get really good passives down here. You get loads of sustain, you get loads of crit damage. You also get some minor healing when you do stuff. You get a movement skill in this skill line. So again, this becomes a really good skill line to build around. And if you go for Cliff Racer, you get off balance, which means when you do this, they'll be off balance. You can then medium with if you use an Inferno, and that will stun them. So I found the Companions and Dawn's Wrath were like really, really good. The other one, I would not use Ardent Flame personally. I don't think it's worth it. So then if you were going to like go down that dot build route, you really have a choice of Arcanist, the Herald of the Tome, Tome Bearer's Inspiration, Inspired Scholarship, or Recuperative Tree Ties. This procs on any class skill, class dot, so Better Infection will proc this, Vampire's Bane will proc it, which means this is the dot really. It also heals you. The passives are great in this skill line. So this is an option here. You just don't really have a good armor buff if you do these three skill lines together. So then you have to then look at how do you get your armor buff, maybe Mighty Student, which is what I'm using here. You then have to go how to fix the build, the Burst Heal, Healing Soul. So there's ways around it, but this is kind of where I was getting to with it. So I'm probably going to run Dawn's Wrath, Herald of the Tome, and Animal Companions on the dot build, William. I think that's kind of the best all round on. Chelsea says, are Oakensoul rings worth it? I'm planning to take it to complement my one bar build. Yes, Oakensoul builds, I'll switch back to one in a moment and I'll show you one. Oakensoul basically gives you what you'd have on a 2-bar build but always active. The trade-off though is that you end up losing the utility. So here's my Sorcerer. This is an Oakensoul Sorcerer for PvP. And what this does is it basically stacks your max resource. So in PvP we have 50,000 magicka, 25k health. We've got pretty good resistances for Assault. Our sustain's 1900 with a potion. It's 2004 almost. When we get buff up, we get our damage up fully. Our spell damage is 4000, so we've got good spell damage, decent resistances. And so what the Oakensoul builds allow you to do is, in order to get things like Major Resolve, Major Brutality or Sorcery, Major Prophecy, all of these like major buffs which you'd have in any build come from a skill. You don't have to pay for that skill anymore because it's always active. You also lose the slots though. Some of those skills do come with like slight additional benefits. So like Ice Fortress, which is a Warden armor skill, gives you armor and minor protection. This happens to come in this anyway, so that's decent. So you find that the Oakensoul basically gives you all of the buffs that you would need for a typical build, especially in PvP. The downside is you don't have access to the 5 skills in the back. So what you'd normally do on a 2-bar build is have damage bar, back bar, heals, defense, utility. So you end up having an extra heal or an extra utility or even 2 than you don't normally. And that makes quite a big difference. So like on a normal sorcerer, we would run, for example, bound armor and bound aegis. This gives us more max magicka, so more magicka, more damage. You'd also have space to run inner light. So again, you'd run these two, which again, 5% magicka boost here, plus this down here, which is at 2%, I think. So 7% magic boost from inner light total. So that's 8, that's 15% more magic. The higher your magicka is, the more damage you do on a sorcerer. Max resource does increase your damage. So we're missing already, 15% magicka just by doing that alone. Plus we've got the other skills. 3 skill slots that are spare. We could then run Vigor and have a heal over time, which we don't have. We would obviously have to run a damage buff and heal, which would use Lightning Surge, Crit Surge. That's your damage and stuff here. You then basically have space for a sustain skill. So you could use like Dark Deal, Deep Thoughts. So what you're starting to see is that you sacrifice a little bit of damage, not much, about 5-10%, but you sacrifice a lot of utility. And that's where the trade-off is. Do you go, I'm going to have slightly less healing power and less mobility, possibly, I have good damage, or do I have slightly less damage but the mobility and the healing, which is what I've done here. This is like a well-rounded spec. It gives you the shields, it gives you the damage, it gives you the sustain. It's like a viable 1-bar build. So there's always that kind of a slight power loss because you don't have access to the 2 bars. You also lose access to some of the better mythics. So again, that's also a trade-off too. So it's not like they're terrible. It's just they're not as optimal. Chelsea's saying, how long have I played ESO? I've played ESO pretty much since launch. So I used to play on Xbox EU, but like 8 years ago, roughly 8-9 years ago. And then I came on PC about 5 years ago. And I've been making like PvP content for about 5 years. Just like trying to make builds and guides to help people get into it. To go, this is what works, this is effective, this is easy to use. Where you see a lot of builds, not to sound harsh, where it's like a 1vx, like super overpowered, god mode, broken. And actually what's happening is it's a decent build, but the player's skill level is what's carrying the gameplay. And so I tried to go, here's a set of core skills, core stats, core resistances that give you a good base to go from. It will work in all content, and then you can tweak it as you need, which is what I tried to do. And you get stuff like this. It's a well-rounded build. It's got good damage, good defense, good sustain. Could I push the damage higher? Yes. Could I push the sustain higher? Yes. But I'd have to sacrifice one or the other. Whereas with this, I've tried not to do that. I've tried to find the balance. And that's kind of what my builds are about, is that balance between damage, defense, and sustain, rather than just hyper-focusing damage and then using skill to overcome the lack of sustain. But yeah, I'm going to call it there because it is late where I am. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So it is very, very late. If you get questions there between now and sort of the next video stream, I do have a Discord. That's like the quickest way to find me, in all honesty. I will put a link to it if people are interested in that. So here is a link to my Discord. There's like different channels and stuff. There's about 1,000 people in there. It's very casual. But if you've got questions and stuff, that's the quickest way to find me. Otherwise, comment on the videos, likes, all the usual stuff really help. And yeah, I'm just going to just say a massive thanks for the support, interaction, and so on. I'll catch you next video or stream. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care and bye.